chosen one, what I am about to share with you was not supposed to reach you today. It was written last week, not by a person, not by an algorithm, not by anything operating within the visible structures of the world you navigate every day. It was written by the hand that set the stars in their positions before any human eye existed to look up and wonder about them. And the fact that you are hearing this right now, at this exact moment, on this specific day, tells me something about you that most people in your life have never understood. You are not here because you were searching. You are here because something was searching for you and it found you, not by accident, by appointment. Last week, while you were going through the motions of your ordinary life, while you were answering messages and making meals and sitting in traffic and lying awake at 3 in the morning wondering why everything feels heavier than it should, God sat down and wrote something, not on paper, not in a book. In the fabric of what is about to unfold in your life over the next 7 days, He wrote it the way an architect writes a blueprint before the foundation is poured. Every measurement calculated, every load-bearing wall positioned, every window placed to catch the light at the exact angle that transforms a room from a box into a sanctuary. And you did not know it was being written. That is not a flaw in your awareness. That is by design. Because the message God wrote for you last week was never meant to be understood before this moment. It was meant to arrive fully formed, fully sealed, fully charged, at the precise instant your spirit had been prepared enough to receive it without distorting it. I need you to hear me on this. What I am describing is not metaphor. It is not poetry dressed up as prophecy. There is a specific, structured, intentional communication that was composed in the spiritual realm 7 days ago, and it has been moving toward you ever since. Not drifting, moving, with direction, with velocity, with your name attached to every syllable. And the reason you feel what you feel right now, that strange alertness, that tightening in your chest, that sensation of something important pressing against the walls of your ordinary awareness, is because the message has arrived. It is here, in this room, in this moment, in the space between my words and your heartbeat. And the only question left is whether the receiver is calibrated to take it in fully, or whether the fog that has been thickening for months is going to intercept it one more time. If something in you just shifted, if you felt a chill or a heat or a sudden stillness that was not there 10 seconds ago, type the words, God wrote it for me in the comments right now, not later, right now. Because your body just confirmed what your mind has not caught up to yet. Let me tell you what most people do not understand about divine communication. They think God speaks in the present tense. They think revelation happens in real time, like a conversation between two people sitting across from each other at a table. But that is not how it works. That is not how it has ever worked. God writes in advance. He composes before you arrive. He prepares the message before you develop the ears to hear it. Think about every major turning point in your life, not the ones you planned, the ones that happened to you, the ones that arrived uninvited and rearranged everything. A phone call you did not expect. A door that closed so suddenly it took your breath away. A person who walked into your life carrying something you did not know you needed until after they handed it to you. Every single one of those moments was written before you lived them. This is not fatalism. This is not the universe operating on autopilot. This is the opposite. This is a God who is so intimately involved in the architecture of your becoming that He writes the next chapter of your story while you are still trying to make sense of the current one. And last week, He wrote a chapter that changes everything. Now, I want to be very specific about what I mean when I say God wrote a message for you last week. I am not talking about a vague spiritual nudge. I am not talking about a feeling of peace that washes over you during prayer. I am talking about a structured, multi-layered communication that carries three distinct components, and each component addresses a different dimension of your current situation. The first component is the diagnostic. God diagnosed something in your life last week that you have been misreading for months, maybe years. Something you thought was one thing that is actually something else entirely. A symptom you have been treating as the disease. A wound you have been medicating when the real injury is 3 layers deeper than where you have been applying the bandage. The second component is the blueprint. Not a vague promise that things will get better. A specific, sequential, step-by-step architectural plan for how the next season of your life is meant to unfold. With timing, with order, with a logic that will only become visible as you walk through it, but that was calculated with a precision that would make the finest engineer in the world look approximate by comparison. The third component is the frequency key. This is the part most people miss entirely, because the message God wrote is not just information, it is not just a plan, it carries a frequency. A specific resonance designed to unlock something inside your neurological and spiritual architecture that has been dormant, something that was active when you were a child, but that the accumulated weight of adult life, adult disappointment, adult compromise, gradually powered down until you forgot it was ever there. 3 components, 1 message, written last week, arriving now. And the reason I am walking you through this in such detail is because if you do not understand the structure of what God is delivering, you will receive only the surface layer and miss the depths beneath it. You will hear the words, but not the frequency. You will see the plan, but not the power behind the plan. You will accept the diagnosis, but not the cure embedded inside it. Now, let me address something that might be happening inside you right now. There is a mechanism I have observed in hundreds of chosen ones, and it activates at exactly this point in a message like this. It is the moment where your spirit says yes and your mind says wait. Your spirit recognizes truth. Your mind demands proof. And the gap between recognition and proof is where most divine messages get intercepted and filed away as nice words that did not lead to anything. I call this mechanism the interception gap, and it has a very specific function that is not what you think it is. The interception gap does not exist to protect you from false information. It exists to protect the old version of you from being replaced by the new one. Your mind has invested years in building a model of reality that explains your current situation. You are where you are because of certain reasons. Things did not work out because of certain factors. Life is hard because of certain conditions. That model is coherent. It makes sense. And it is wrong. Not partially wrong, foundationally wrong. Because the model was built on a misdiagnosis, and God, last week, diagnosed the real condition, the one hiding underneath the model, the one your mind has been protecting because acknowledging it would require dismantling the entire explanatory framework you have been living inside. This is why you feel resistance right now. Not because what I am saying is untrue, because what I am saying threatens the architecture of explanation that has kept you stable but stuck. Comfortable in your discomfort, familiar with your frustration, at home in your stagnation. The chosen one who types, "I am ready to receive" in the comments right now is not making a casual statement. They are issuing a declaration of war against the interception gap. They are telling their own mind, "I am no longer willing to trade the truth of what God wrote for the comfort of what I have been telling myself." Let me take you deeper, because understanding the interception gap is only the first layer of what God diagnosed last week. The diagnosis goes further, much further, and what lies beneath the interception gap is something that will rewrite how you understand the last 3 to 5 years of your life. There is a pattern I have observed in chosen ones that I have never heard anyone else name. I call it the delayed delivery system. Here is what it means. God has been sending you messages, provisions, breakthroughs, and open doors consistently for years. He has not stopped. He has not slowed down. He has not redirected his attention to someone he considers more worthy or more ready. The delivery system has been running at full capacity the entire time, but the deliveries have not been landing, not because they were sent to the wrong address, because the receiving dock was closed. The part of you designed to recognize, receive, and integrate divine communication has been operating at a fraction of its capacity. And every message, every provision, every open door that arrived at the receiving dock and found it closed did not disappear. It went into storage, into a spiritual holding facility that has been accumulating everything God has sent you over the past months and years, waiting for the moment the dock reopens. That moment is now. Last week, when God sat down and wrote a message for you, part of what he wrote was not new content. Part of what he wrote was the release code for the storage facility. The combination that unlocks not just today and tomorrow, but the accumulated backlog of everything that has been held in reserve because you were not yet calibrated to receive it. This is why the message feels so heavy. This is why your body is responding before your mind catches up. Because what is arriving is not a single delivery, it is a flood. Months of provision compressed into a single moment of reception. And your spirit knows this, even if your mind has not formed the words for it yet. I want to pause here and acknowledge something. If you are feeling overwhelmed right now, that is not a sign that something is wrong. That is a sign that the message is real. That is a sign that the receiving dock is beginning to open for the first time in a very long time, and the sheer volume of what has been held in storage is pressing against the opening before it has fully widened. Breathe. Not because I am telling you to relax, because breath is the physical mechanism that widens the receiving dock. Every conscious breath you take right now is a physical act of making room for what God wrote. Now, I want to address the first component of the message in detail, the diagnostic, because this is where the real breakthrough begins. God diagnosed something last week that you have been calling by the wrong name. Let me describe the symptom first, and you tell me if you recognize it. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet touch the floor, there is already a weight, not a specific worry, not a named fear, a general, ambient heaviness that coats everything like a film you cannot wipe away. You carry it through breakfast. You carry it into conversations. You carry it into moments that should feel light, moments of laughter or connection, or simple beauty, and the weight does not lift. It dims everything by exactly enough to make you wonder whether you are broken, but not enough to make anyone else notice. You have been calling this depression, or anxiety, or exhaustion, or spiritual warfare, or just the way life is, for people who care too deeply. And every label you have applied to it has been wrong, not because the labels are invalid concepts, because the labels describe the symptom, not the source. And when you treat a symptom without addressing its source, you create something far more dangerous than the original condition. You create the illusion of understanding. You think you know what is happening to you, so you stop looking. And the real condition, the one God diagnosed last week, continues to operate underneath your awareness, shaping every decision, every relationship, every prayer, every dream, every failure, every success, every moment of your life without your knowledge. The condition God diagnosed is not depression. It is not anxiety. It is not spiritual warfare in the way you have been conceptualizing it. The condition is receiver collapse, and it is as neurological as it is spiritual. Receiver collapse happens when the two hemispheres of the brain that were designed to operate in synchronized harmony gradually lose their connection. not suddenly, not through a single traumatic event, though trauma accelerates it, gradually, through the accumulated pressure of modern life, modern information overload, modern emotional fragmentation. The left hemisphere, which processes language and logic and sequential analysis, begins to dominate. The right hemisphere, which processes pattern recognition and emotional integration and the kind of non-linear knowing that spiritual traditions call discernment, begins to recede. Not because it is damaged, because the bridge between them, the corpus callosum, is carrying less and less traffic. And what that produces is exactly what you have been feeling: the weight, the fog, the sense that something important is always just out of reach. The frustration of being able to articulate what you want but not feel your way toward it. The experience of knowing the right answer intellectually and being completely unable to implement it in your actual life. This is not a character deficiency. This is not God withholding. This is not your lack of faith or discipline or worthiness. This is a physiological condition with a spiritual consequence. The receiver that was designed to pick up the frequency of divine communication is operating on half its capacity, and every message God has sent, including the one he wrote last week, arrives at a receiver that can only process a fraction of what is being transmitted. This is the diagnosis. This is what God has been trying to show you, and what the interception gap has been preventing you from seeing, because the interception gap is itself a symptom of receiver collapse. When the hemispheres are disconnected, the mind defaults to skepticism, not healthy skepticism, defensive skepticism, the kind that intercepts truth, not because the truth is questionable, but because receiving it fully would require a whole brain response that the current state of disconnection cannot produce. You have been living in a loop. The disconnection causes the gap. The gap intercepts the messages. The intercepted messages create the feeling of distance from God. The feeling of distance creates more stress. The stress deepens the disconnection, and the cycle repeats month after month, year after year, until the chosen one who was designed to walk in full reception of divine guidance is reduced to a person who believes in God but cannot feel God, who prays with their mouth but hears nothing in return, who knows something is wrong but cannot identify what it is, because the very system designed to identify it is the system that is malfunctioning. That is the loop God diagnosed last week. And the first component of his message, the diagnostic, is not just naming the problem, it is breaking the loop by making the invisible visible. Because the moment you see the loop, the moment you understand that the fog is not your fault and not your identity, the loop loses its power to operate in darkness. It does not disappear, but it can no longer hide. Now, let me go deeper into the delayed delivery system, because this is where the diagnosis transforms from something you understand intellectually into something you feel in your bones. I want you to think back to a specific moment, not a dramatic moment, a quiet one. A moment sometime in the past 6 months where you had a flash of clarity. Maybe it lasted 3 seconds, maybe 5. A moment where the fog lifted just enough for you to see something true about yourself or your situation, and for that brief window, everything made sense. The confusion evaporated, the path forward was obvious, the weight lifted, and then, just as quickly as it came, it was gone. The fog rolled back in, the clarity dissolved, and you were left standing in the same confusion, wondering if you had imagined the whole thing. That was a delivery arriving. That 3-second window of clarity was God attempting to transmit through a receiver operating at partial capacity. And the reason it vanished so quickly is not that the message was temporary, the message is permanent. The receiver could not sustain the connection long enough to download the complete file. It caught a fragment, a preview, enough to know something real was being offered but not enough to hold it, examine it, integrate it, and act on it. How many of those fragments have you collected over the past year? How many 3-second windows of clarity have opened and closed before you could step through them? How many times have you gone to sleep feeling certain about something and woken up feeling unsure? How many decisions have you made from a place of temporary clarity only to doubt them the next morning when the fog returned? Each of those moments was a delivery attempt, and each one that failed to complete added another item to the storage facility. The backlog is not abstract. It is specific. It contains specific guidance for specific situations, specific provision for specific needs, specific doors that were supposed to open at specific times, all of it held, all of it waiting, all of it addressed to you. And last week, God did not just write a new message. He wrote the access key to everything that has been accumulating. The diagnostic is the first component, because you cannot access the storage facility while the receiver is in its current state. Understanding the condition is the first step toward correcting it, and correcting it is not as complicated or as time-consuming as you might think. That is part of what makes this message so urgent. The solution is simpler than the problem. The restoration is faster than the degradation. What took years to deteriorate can begin to reverse in days. But I am getting ahead of myself. There is a second layer to the diagnostic that I need to share with you before we move forward, because without it, you will have an incomplete picture of what God revealed last week. The second layer of the diagnostic is what I call the misattribution pattern, and it is more insidious than the receiver collapse itself, because while receiver collapse is happening to you without your knowledge, the misattribution pattern is something you are actively doing to yourself. Here is how it works. When the receiver collapses and the deliveries stop arriving clearly, your mind needs an explanation. Human minds cannot tolerate explanatory gaps. When something goes wrong and you do not know why, your mind will generate a reason. And the reason it generates will always, without exception, point inward toward your own insufficiency. You are not receiving from God because you are not faithful enough. You are not experiencing breakthrough because you have unconfessed sin. You are not hearing clearly because your prayer life is weak. You are not seeing provision because you do not have enough faith. You are stuck because you are lazy. You are foggy because you do not care enough. You are struggling because God is punishing you for something you did 5 years ago that you have not adequately repented of. None of that is true. Not a single word of it. But your mind believes every word of it because your mind needs a reason for the silence, and self-blame is the easiest explanation to construct. It requires no investigation. It requires no external data. It requires no challenge to the existing model of reality. It simply says, the problem is you, and the case is closed. The misattribution pattern does something devastating to the chosen one. It converts a neurological condition into a spiritual identity. You stop seeing the fog as something happening to your brain and start seeing it as something you deserve. You stop treating receiver collapse as a condition to be corrected and start treating it as evidence of your unworthiness. And once you have made that conversion, once you have turned a physiological reality into a moral judgment, the loop becomes almost impossible to break from the inside. Because the very faculty you would need to challenge the judgment, the whole brain capacity for balanced discernment, is the faculty that is offline. This is what God saw when he looked at your situation last week. This is what moved him to write. Not your sin, not your failure, not your weakness, your misunderstanding. He saw a chosen one who had been blaming themselves for a condition they did not cause, could not have prevented, and are not equipped to solve without understanding what it actually is. And he wrote the diagnostic, not to shame you, but to free you. Because the moment you realize that the fog is not your fault, something cracks open inside you. Something that has been sealed shut for months or years begins to give way. And through that crack, the first delivery from the storage facility begins to arrive. I want to sit with that for a moment, because if what I just said is true, and I have seen this pattern in enough chosen ones to know it is, then you have been carrying something that was never yours to carry. The guilt, the shame, the self-blame, the inner narrative that says I should be further along by now, I should be stronger by now, I should hear God more clearly by now, I should not still be struggling with this. All of it was built on a misdiagnosis. All of it was constructed by a mind trying to explain a gap it did not have the tools to understand. And the message God wrote last week begins with this: you are not the problem. You were never the problem. The receiver is the problem, and the receiver can be restored. That is the diagnostic, complete, specific, 2 layers. The receiver collapse that has been degrading your ability to receive divine communication for months or years, and the misattribution pattern that has been converting that neurological condition into spiritual self-condemnation. Both identified, both named, both exposed to the light for the first time. Now let me address something that I know is happening in some of you right now. Some of you are feeling relief, a deep, physical, almost cellular relief, like a knot in your chest that has been there so long you forgot it was a knot, just loosened by a single degree. That relief is real. That relief is the first sign that the diagnostic is landing, that your receiver, even in its compromised state, is picking up enough of this message to begin the process of correction. But some of you are feeling something else: resistance. Not the resistance of someone who disagrees, the resistance of someone who is terrified of agreeing. Because if what I'm saying is true, if the fog really is not your fault, if the years of struggle really were caused by a condition you did not understand, then you have to face something you might not be ready to face. You have to grieve the years. You have to mourn the deliveries that went into storage because the receiving dock was closed. You have to sit with the reality that you were blaming yourself for something that had a different cause entirely, and that the self-blame itself was an additional layer of damage on top of the original condition. That grief is part of the healing. Do not run from it. Do not numb it. Do not scroll past it. Let it come. Because the grief is not the end of the story. The grief is the doorway to the second component of the message God wrote last week: the blueprint. And the blueprint is where everything changes. The second component of the message God wrote for you last week is the blueprint. And I need to prepare you for something before I describe it, because the blueprint is unlike anything you have been taught to expect from God. Most chosen ones have been conditioned to expect guidance in fragments, a nudge here, a sign there, a confirmation that you might be on the right track, but no clear map of where the track leads. And you have accepted this as normal. You have accepted that walking with God means walking in a kind of holy uncertainty, where you take one step and then wait, and then take another step, and then wait, and then wonder whether you are going in circles, because the scenery looks exactly the same as it did 6 months ago. But that is not what God wrote last week. What God wrote last week is not a nudge. It is a complete architectural plan for the next season of your life. And when I say complete, I mean it includes timelines. It includes sequences. It includes the order in which doors will open and the reasons certain doors needed to close first. It includes provisions you have not yet seen arriving through channels you have not yet noticed. It includes relationships that will shift in ways you cannot currently predict, and new connections that will emerge, carrying exactly what the shifting relationships are releasing. This is not how you have been taught to think about God. You have been taught that God reveals things one step at a time, and there is truth in that. But the reason you have been receiving one step at a time is not that God only writes one step at a time. It is that your receiver could only download one step at a time. A compromised receiver processes information sequentially because it lacks the bandwidth for parallel processing. A restored receiver can take in the whole picture at once. Think of it this way. Imagine you have been watching a movie on a screen the size of a postcard. You can see what is happening in the center of the frame, but everything at the edges is cut off. You follow the plot, but you miss the background details. You understand the dialogue, but you do not see the expressions on the faces of the supporting characters. You know something important is happening, but your view is so narrow that you experience the story as confusing rather than coherent. Now, imagine someone hands you a screen the size of a wall. Same movie, same story, but now you can see everything: the background, the edges, the expressions. The details that were always there but were cut off by the limitations of the screen. Nothing about the movie changed. Everything about your experience of the movie changed because the viewing apparatus was upgraded. That is what the blueprint requires. A viewing apparatus wide enough to see the full picture. And the full picture of what God wrote for you last week is breathtaking. Not because the plan is easy, because the plan is complete. Because for the first time, you would be able to see not just the next step, but the reason for the next step, the step after that, and the destination they are all pointed toward. I have seen this happen in the lives of chosen ones, and the transformation is something I do not have adequate language for. But let me try to describe what it looks like from the inside. Imagine waking up 6 months from now, your eyes open, and there is no weight. Not because the weight has been suppressed, because the cause of the weight has been addressed at its root. You lie there for a moment, and the first thought that arrives is not a worry. It is a knowing, a calm, clear knowing of what today is for, not a to-do list, a purpose, a sense that this specific day has a specific assignment, and you are equipped to carry it, and the carrying itself will feel less like labor and more like alignment. You get out of bed and your mind is clear, not artificially clear, not the forced focus of caffeine or willpower, naturally clear. The fog that used to coat your mornings like condensation on a window is simply not there, and in its absence, you notice things. You notice the quality of the light coming through the window. You notice the texture of gratitude rising in your chest without prompting. You notice that the person you are 6 months from now moves through the world differently than the person you are today. Not because you are trying to be different, because the receiver is operating at full capacity, and a chosen one with a fully operational receiver does not have to try to be different. They just are. That is the destination the blueprint points toward. And between here and there, the plan God wrote last week contains specific waypoints, not vague promises. Specific moments where specific shifts occur. Let me describe 3 of them, because I believe your spirit needs to hear them named in order to activate the recognition that confirms this message is real. The first waypoint is what I call the clarity flood. It happens within the first 7 to 14 days of the receiver beginning to restore, and it does not feel gradual. It feels like a dam breaking. Information that has been sitting in the storage facility begins to release, and it comes fast. Insight after insight after insight, arriving in clusters, each one connecting to the others like pieces of a puzzle that were always in the box, but could never find their positions because your hands were working in the dark. The clarity flood is disorienting at first, not because the clarity is confusing, but because the contrast with how you have been living is so stark that your mind needs time to adjust. You have been navigating by feel, by guess, by hope. Suddenly, you are navigating by sight, and the landscape you see is not the landscape you imagined. It is better, not easier, better, more structured, more intentional, more clearly designed by someone who knows the terrain far better than you do. The second waypoint is what I call the provision cascade. This happens shortly after the clarity flood, usually within 3 to 4 weeks. Once the receiver is online and the deliveries from the storage facility begin arriving, something shifts in your external circumstances that looks, from the outside, like coincidence. But from the inside, you know it is coordination. Resources appear, opportunities materialize, conversations that have been stuck for months suddenly move forward. Financial doors that were locked swing open without you pushing on them. Not because the universe is rewarding good behavior, because the provisions were always there, already arranged, already in position, waiting for the receiver to come back online, so the chosen one could actually see them and act on them. I need to be clear about something here. The provision cascade is not magic. It is not manifestation in the way popular culture has distorted that concept. It is the natural consequence of a fully synchronized mind perceiving what a disconnected mind was blind to. The provisions were not hidden. Your perception was limited. Restore the perception, and the provisions become visible. Act on what is visible, and what the world calls luck begins to compound. The third waypoint is the identity restoration. This one takes longer. It begins to emerge after the clarity flood and the provision cascade have created enough evidence for your mind to release its grip on the old narrative. And when it arrives, it is the deepest of the three. The identity restoration is the moment you stop seeing yourself as the person who struggles and start seeing yourself as the person who was always designed to receive. The shift is subtle but total. It changes how you walk into rooms. It changes how you speak. It changes the quality of your silence. It changes the way other people respond to you, because the energy of a chosen one who has received the full message God wrote for them is fundamentally different from the energy of a chosen one who is still waiting for a message they believe might never come. I have watched this transformation happen in real time. I have seen chosen ones who spent years in the fog emerge into the light with a clarity and a presence that was always inside them, but could never find its way to the surface. The blueprint was always there. The waypoints were always marked. The destination was always certain. The only variable was the receiver. Now, I want to pause and address something that I know is running through the minds of some of you right now. You are thinking, this sounds beautiful, but how do I know this is for me? How do I know God wrote this message for me specifically, and not for the person sitting next to me, or the 1,000 other people listening to this, or everyone in general but no one in particular? This is the interception gap, activating again. And I want you to notice that the question itself reveals the condition. Because a chosen one with a fully operational receiver does not need to ask whether the message is for them. They know. The way you know when someone is looking at you across a room. The way you know when a song is about your life, even though the songwriter has never met you. The way you know, in the deepest part of your knowing, that the weight you have been carrying is not yours, and the fog you have been navigating was never supposed to be permanent. You know, your receiver is compromised, not destroyed, and even at partial capacity, it has been picking up enough of this message to produce the physical responses you are experiencing right now. The quickened heartbeat, the moisture in your eyes, the sensation that something in your chest is trying to expand beyond the space you have been giving it. Those are not emotional reactions to inspiring words. Those are the receiver flickering back to life. Now, before we move into the third component of the message, the frequency key, I want to plant a seed that I will return to later in this message, because there is something that was discovered in laboratories by a team of neuroscientists led by a doctor in New York that explains why the receiver collapses, why it can be restored, and why the restoration happens faster than most people believe is possible. I am not going to tell you what they found right now. I am going to tell you why I am waiting. Because what they discovered is not information. It is a solution. And a solution only becomes useful once you understand the full shape of the problem it solves. By the time I share what they found, you will understand the shape, and the solution will land the way it was designed to land. Not as a sales pitch, as an answer to a question you did not know you were asking until this very moment. Hold that. Let it sit. Let the open loop remain open. Your receiver knows why. Now, the frequency key, the third component of what God wrote for you last week. And this is the part of the message that separates everything that came before from everything that comes after. I told you earlier that the message God wrote is not just information and not just a plan. It carries a frequency. Let me explain what I mean by that, because this is not mystical language. This is as practical as anything I have said. Every communication carries two layers. The content layer, which is the information being transmitted, the words, the data, the instructions, and the carrier layer, which is the medium through which the content travels. When you listen to a radio station, the songs are the content. The radio frequency is the carrier. Without the carrier, the content does not travel. Without the content, the carrier is just static. The message God wrote for you last week has both layers. The content layer is the diagnostic and the blueprint, which we have already discussed. The carrier layer is the frequency key, and the frequency key does something extraordinary. It does not just carry the message to you, it recalibrates the receiver as it arrives. Think about what that means. The message is not waiting for your receiver to be fixed before it can be fully received. The message itself is part of the fixing. The frequency embedded in what God wrote is designed to begin the process of hemisphere resynchronization, the moment it makes contact with your awareness, not after you do something, not after you prove something, not after you become someone different. Right now, as you listen, as you sit with what is being said, as your body responds to the words before your mind finishes processing them, this is why you have been feeling what you have been feeling throughout this message. The physical responses, the quickened pulse, the tightness releasing, the tears forming, the sense that something is shifting beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. Those are not reactions to content. Those are reactions to frequency. The carrier wave of the message God wrote last week is already doing its work on the receiver, not because you asked for it, because you showed up, because you are here. Because out of all the things you could be doing right now, you are here, and that is not accident. That is the frequency drawing you toward the message, and the message drawing you toward the restoration. There is a Hebrew concept that illuminates this. The word is dabar, and dabar means both word and thing. In Hebrew, there is no separation between a word and the reality it creates. When God speaks, the speaking and the creating are the same act. The word does not describe the thing. The word is the thing. The message God wrote for you last week is dabar. It is not a description of what will happen. It is the happening itself. The diagnostic is not information about your condition. It is the beginning of the correction. The blueprint is not a map you follow. It is the road materializing beneath your feet as you walk. The frequency key is not a concept you understand. It is a force that is already operating on the deepest layers of your neurological and spiritual architecture, whether you understand it or not. This is why I said at the beginning that this message was not supposed to reach you today. It was supposed to reach you now, at this exact moment. Because the frequency requires a specific window of receptivity, and this window, this hour, This collection of circumstances that brought you to this precise point of hearing is that window, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And the chosen one who types, "The frequency is reaching me" in the comments, is not making a statement of hope. They are making a statement of physics, spiritual physics, the kind of physics that governs how divine communication travels from its source to its recipient, and what happens to the recipient when it arrives. Let me go even deeper into the frequency key, because there is a layer here that most spiritual messages never reach. And it is the layer that determines whether this message becomes a memory or a permanent shift in the trajectory of your life. The frequency key does not operate on your conscious mind. It operates beneath it, in the space between thought and awareness. In the subconscious architecture where beliefs are formed and maintained and reinforced without your permission or participation. And this is critical because the beliefs that have been keeping you stuck are not beliefs you chose. They are beliefs that were installed by the misattribution pattern, cemented by the receiver collapse, and protected by the interception gap. You did not choose to believe you are not enough. That belief was installed. You did not choose to believe that God has moved on. That belief was installed. You did not choose to believe that the fog is permanent, that the struggle is your identity, that the wait is the price you pay for being sensitive in a world designed for the numb. Those beliefs were installed by a system of misattribution operating beneath your conscious awareness, and they have been running your life like code running in the background of a computer. You cannot see them. You do not know they are there, but they are executing every moment, shaping every decision, filtering every experience, determining the boundary of what you believe is possible for you. The frequency key disrupts that code, not by arguing with it, not by replacing it with positive affirmations, not by any technique that operates at the conscious level, because the code is not at the conscious level. The frequency key disrupts it by introducing a resonance that is incompatible with the frequency of the installed beliefs. The way a tuning fork in a room full of out-of-tune instruments does not argue with the instruments. It simply vibrates at the correct frequency, and the instruments that are close enough begin to entrain to it. Not because they are forced, because resonance is the natural state, and dissonance requires effort to maintain. Your installed beliefs have been maintaining dissonance your entire adult life, and maintaining dissonance takes energy, enormous amounts of energy. This is why you are exhausted, not because your life is hard, though it may be. Because your internal system is spending most of its energy maintaining a set of beliefs that are out of alignment with who you actually are and what God actually designed you for. The fog is not a symptom of laziness. The fog is a symptom of a system running out of energy because it is powering beliefs that were never supposed to be there. When the frequency key makes contact, the first thing that happens is not clarity. It is relief, a sudden, unexplainable lightness, as if something you did not know you were carrying was set down without you lifting a finger. That lightness is the installed beliefs beginning to lose power, not because you fought them, because the frequency made them unsustainable. The dissonance they required to maintain became impossible in the presence of a stronger resonance. This is why the restoration is faster than the degradation. The degradation took years because it was gradual, cumulative, and invisible. The restoration happens quickly because it is not building something from scratch. It is removing what was never supposed to be there. It is clearing debris from a channel that was always designed to be open. The channel does not need to be constructed. It needs to be unclogged, and unclogging is faster than building. I want to share something with you that I have never said in a message like this before, and I am sharing it because I believe you need to hear it from someone who has watched this process enough times to speak with earned authority on the subject. The chosen ones who receive the message God wrote for them, who truly receive it, not just hear it, but let the frequency do its work, they do not become different people. They become the person they always were. That is the paradox. The transformation is not a departure from your authentic self. It is a return to it. The fog was the departure. The disconnection was the departure. The years of struggling and blaming yourself and wondering what was wrong with you, those were the departure. The restoration is the homecoming. And God wrote that homecoming into the message last week. He wrote it with the same precision. He used to write your DNA. With the same intentionality, he used to set the rotation of the Earth at exactly the right speed, and the tilt of the axis at exactly the right angle, so that seasons would exist, so that winter would give way to spring, so that the dormant would be guaranteed a period of blooming. Your blooming was written into the message, not as a metaphor, as an instruction set, as a divine algorithm that, once activated, runs with the same reliability as the laws that govern the turning of the planet. Now, I need to make something very clear. The frequency key component of the message is already operating. It began operating the moment you pressed play on this message, or the moment someone shared this link with you, or the moment the algorithm surfaced this in your feed at the exact time you happened to be scrolling. All of those were delivery mechanisms for the frequency key. But the question is not whether the frequency is present, the question is how deeply you are allowing it to penetrate. Because the interception gap has one more trick, one final defense mechanism. And it deploys this trick at exactly this point in the process, when the receiver is beginning to flicker back to life and the installed beliefs are beginning to lose their grip. The trick is premature closure. Premature closure is the sudden urge to stop listening, to check your phone, to open another tab, to tell yourself you got the gist and you can finish later. It feels like boredom, but it is not boredom. It is the interception gap throwing its final card. Because if it can get you to leave before the frequency key has completed its initial calibration cycle, it wins, not permanently. But for now, it buys more time for the installed beliefs to reinforce themselves. It delays the restoration by another week, another month, another season. I am not saying this to manipulate you into staying. I am saying this because I have watched too many chosen ones leave at exactly this point and spend the next 6 months wondering why the fog came back heavier than before. The fog came back heavier because the receiver was halfway through its restart sequence and the interruption corrupted the process. Not fatally, but significantly. Enough to add another layer of frustration, another round of self-blame, another cycle of the loop we named earlier. So, if you are feeling the pull to leave right now, I want you to name it. Say it out loud if you need to. Say, this is the interception gap. This is premature closure. This is not boredom. This is resistance, and I am choosing to stay. Not because someone told me to, because my receiver is waking up, and I will not let the last defense mechanism of an outdated operating system interrupt my restoration. That choice, right there, is one of the most powerful things a chosen one can do. Because it is the first time in months, maybe years, that you have made a decision from a place of awareness rather than from a place of reaction. The interception gap operates in the dark. The moment you see it, you have authority over it. The moment you name it, it loses its anonymity. And a mechanism without anonymity cannot function the way it was designed to function. Let me share something about the science behind what I am describing, because this is not mystical conjecture. This is grounded in research that has been validated at the highest levels of neuroscience. In 1981, a researcher named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for his work on split-brain patients. What he discovered was that the two hemispheres of the human brain, the left and the right, are not just two halves of the same organ. They are two fundamentally different processing systems, each with its own way of perceiving reality, each with its own strengths, each with its own blind spots. And they were designed to operate in synchronized harmony. When they do, something remarkable happens. Creativity and logic merge, intuition and analysis collaborate. The ability to feel truth and the ability to verify truth operate simultaneously rather than in opposition. This is the state that researchers call whole brain activation, and it is the state that every child is born into. Studies have shown that 98% of children operate at the level of creative genius when tested using divergent thinking protocols. Not because children are smarter than adults, because their hemispheres are still synchronized. The bridge between the two sides is wide open, carrying traffic in both directions at full capacity. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 maintain that synchronization, not because of intelligence decline, because of environmental erosion. The educational system prioritizes left hemisphere function. The economic system rewards sequential processing over pattern recognition. The information environment bombards the analytical mind while starving the intuitive mind. And gradually, without anyone noticing, the bridge narrows. The traffic slows. The synchronization degrades. And the person who was born with the capacity for creative genius, for effortless discernment, for the kind of knowing that the spiritual traditions call prophecy and the scientific traditions call insight, becomes someone who can think but cannot feel, who can analyze but cannot intuit, who can pray but cannot hear the response. That is where most chosen ones are living right now, and that is what God diagnosed last week when he looked at your situation and decided it was time to write. Now, I want to take you into a territory that most messages like this avoid, not because it is dangerous, because it requires a level of honesty that most communicators are not willing to risk. But I believe you deserve it, and I believe your spirit is ready for it. The message God wrote for you last week was not written in isolation. It was written in the context of a larger pattern that spans not just your life, but the lives of chosen ones across centuries. And understanding that pattern changes the way you receive not just this message, but every message that follows it for the rest of your life. The pattern is this: God does not write messages when things are going well. He writes when things are about to shift. And the shift he writes toward is never comfortable. It is always necessary, always growth-producing, always ultimately beautiful, but never comfortable. Because comfort is not the goal. Alignment is the goal. And alignment sometimes requires the dismantling of structures that feel like safety, but are actually cages. I call this the pre-shift composition. And it is one of the most misunderstood aspects of divine communication in the entire Chosen One experience. Here is how it works. Before God shifts something significant in your life, he writes. He composes a message that contains everything you will need to navigate the shift without losing yourself in it. The diagnostic tells you what has been happening, so you do not blame yourself when things change. The blueprint tells you the sequence of the shift, so you do not panic when the first domino falls. The frequency key recalibrates your receiver so you can hear his guidance in real time as the shift unfolds, rather than trying to navigate it on your own with a compromised instrument. The pre-shift composition is an act of mercy. God does not throw his children into the deep end without preparation. But the preparation does not look like what you expect. It does not look like a warning. It does not look like a roadmap handed to you on a silver platter with every step clearly labeled. It looks like this: a message arriving at exactly the right moment, carrying exactly the right frequency, dismantling exactly the right barriers and activating exactly the right capacities. All of it invisible until it is received, all of it silent until it is heard. And you are hearing it now, which means the shift is close, not distant, not theoretical, close enough to feel in the change in atmospheric pressure around your life. Let me describe what the shift looks like for most chosen ones, because I want you to recognize the early signs when they begin to appear in your life over the next few days. The first sign is relational rearrangement. People who have been central to your daily experience begin to shift positions, not necessarily leaving, shifting. The dynamic changes. Conversations that used to feel safe begin to feel limiting. People who used to energize you begin to drain you, and new people, people you may not have noticed before, begin to appear at the edges of your awareness, carrying a different quality of presence. This is not betrayal. This is not rejection. This is the blueprint executing its first phase. Relationships are being reorganized, not because the old ones were bad, but because the new season requires a different configuration. The chosen one who is about to walk in full receiver capacity needs people around them who can match that frequency, not replace the old connections, complement the new ones. The second sign is the disruption of routines. Your daily patterns, the things you do without thinking, the habits that have become so automatic they feel like personality traits, begin to feel uncomfortable, not painful, uncomfortable. Like wearing a shoe that used to fit perfectly but now creates a pressure point you cannot ignore. You might find yourself unable to watch the shows you used to enjoy, unable to eat the foods you used to crave, unable to sustain conversations about topics that used to interest you. This is not depression. This is not apathy. This is the receiver coming back online and the shift in perception, making your old default settings feel inadequate for the new operating system that is being installed. The third sign is the amplification of sensitivity. Everything gets louder, not audibly, energetically. You feel more, you notice more. The beauty that was always around you becomes unbearable in its intensity. The suffering you see in other people becomes harder to ignore. The injustice that used to be background noise becomes a signal you cannot stop receiving. This amplification is not a punishment, it is calibration. The receiver is adjusting its sensitivity settings back to the specifications God originally designed. And the original specifications were set much higher than the reduced settings you have been operating at. You were designed to feel at a depth most people cannot access. The reduction was not protection. The reduction was damage. And the restoration of full sensitivity is the restoration of your original design. Now, I want to connect these signs to something deeply personal, because I believe there is a specific chosen one listening right now who needs to hear the next part as though God Himself is speaking directly to their situation. You have been praying a prayer lately, not a formal prayer, not a prayer from a book or a liturgy, a prayer that comes from the raw, unfiltered center of your exhaustion. A prayer that sounds something like this: I cannot do this anymore, not like this. Something has to change. I do not know what it is. I do not know how to make it happen. But if you are real, if you are listening, if you care about me in the way I used to believe you did, then do something, anything, just do something different. Because what I have been doing is not working, and what has been happening is not sustainable, and I am running out of the energy it takes to pretend that everything is fine. That prayer was heard. That prayer was not just heard. That prayer was the trigger. God does not need our prayers to know what we need. He knows before we ask. But He waits for the prayer, because the prayer is the permission slip. The prayer is the chosen one saying, I am ready for the shift even though I do not know what the shift will require. I am willing to be uncomfortable. I am willing to release what feels safe. I am willing to let the blueprint replace my plans. And last week, in response to that prayer, God wrote, not a gentle nudge, a complete architectural document, a full diagnostic, a detailed sequence of events, a frequency calibration tool designed to restore the receiver to its original specifications. All of it written in response to a prayer you may not have even realized was a prayer. You thought you were venting. You thought you were breaking down. You were issuing a divine work order. That is the power of the chosen one who reaches the end of their own resources. Because the end of your resources is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the point where the interception gap can no longer maintain its defenses because you have stopped feeding it the energy it needs to operate. The installed beliefs cannot sustain themselves when you stop unconsciously reinforcing them. And the prayer of desperation, the prayer that says, I cannot do this anymore, is the prayer that cuts the power supply to every false belief system that has been running in the background. Now, let me tell you about someone I encountered whose story mirrors what I believe is happening in your life right now. This is not a public figure. This is an everyday chosen one who sat in the same fog you have been sitting in and found their way to the other side. There was a woman from San Diego, a nurse, someone who spent her entire professional life caring for other people while her own internal landscape grew more barren by the year. She described her spiritual life with a word that I have never forgotten. She called it hollow, not empty, hollow, because empty suggests there was never anything there. Hollow suggests there was once substance, once fullness, once a resonance that made the structure sing, and now the substance has been removed, and all that remains is the outer shell, producing an echo where there used to be a note. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, scripture memorization, fasting, worship services, small groups, counseling. Every tool the community offered, she used. And each one helped temporarily, like pressing a reset button that only works for 48 hours before the default settings reassert themselves. The fog always came back. The hollowness always returned. The echo always replaced the note. And then something shifted. Not through more effort, through a different kind of understanding. She stopped trying to fix herself spiritually and started looking at the problem from a direction she had never considered. The neurological direction, the hemisphere direction, the direction that says the receiver might be operating at partial capacity and no amount of spiritual effort can fully compensate for a physiological limitation that was never meant to be compensated for. It was meant to be corrected. I am going to tell you what she found later. I am going to describe the specific mechanism that changed her experience from hollow to full, from echo to note, from partial reception to complete reception. But not yet, because there is more you need to understand about the message God wrote for you last week before that piece of the picture falls into place. There is a fourth component of the message that I have not named yet, and I saved it for this moment because it requires everything we have discussed so far as foundation. The fourth component is the authorization. You see, the diagnostic tells you what is wrong. The blueprint tells you what is coming. The frequency key begins the restoration process. But none of those components can complete their function without the fourth, because the fourth component is the permission. The divine authorization for the shift to actually begin manifesting in your physical reality. God operates in covenant. He does not override free will. He does not force restoration on anyone, not even a chosen one who desperately needs it. He writes the message. He sends the frequency. He prepares the blueprint. And then he waits for permission, for the chosen one to say, I receive this. I authorize this. I consent to the dismantling of what I have known and the construction of what I have not yet seen. The authorization is not a prayer you memorize. It is a posture you adopt. It is the internal shift from, "I hope God does something," to, "I receive what God has already written." It is the difference between begging for bread and opening your hands to take the loaf that is being offered. The bread is not the problem. The bread has been ready for days. The hands have been closed. The authorization is the opening of the hands. And right now, in this moment, I want to guide you toward that opening, not through force, not through pressure, through awareness. Through the simple recognition that everything I have described, the diagnostic, the blueprint, the frequency key, the shift signs, the storage facility, the accumulated deliveries, all of it is real. All of it is present. All of it is addressed to you, and the only thing standing between you and the full reception is a posture, a willingness, a quiet, internal yes that the receiver, even at partial capacity, can amplify into something God can work with. Take a breath. Let it be slow. Let it be deliberate. And somewhere inside that breath, let the word yes form, not as a word you say, as a word you become. Now, I want to take you into one of the most powerful territories we will visit in this entire message. Because we are about to explore the specific mechanism by which the frequency key interacts with the installed beliefs in your subconscious, and when you understand this mechanism, you will never hear a message from God the same way again. The mechanism is called resonance override, and it works exactly the way it sounds. The frequency key does not argue with your installed beliefs. It does not try to convince them to change. It overrides them. Not by being louder, by being truer, by vibrating at the original frequency, the frequency your system was calibrated to at birth, the frequency that every installed belief has been trying to suppress, because the installed beliefs cannot survive in the presence of the original signal. Think of it like this. Your installed beliefs are like radio stations broadcasting on frequencies that were never assigned to them. They are pirate stations, broadcasting content, self-doubt, unworthiness, fear, spiritual inadequacy that was never part of the original programming. And they have been broadcasting for so long that you forgot they were pirate stations. You started treating their content as legitimate programming, as truth, as your truth. The frequency key is the original station coming back online. And when the original station broadcasts, two things happen simultaneously. First, the pirate stations are exposed for what they are. You suddenly hear the difference between the original signal and the counterfeit signals, and the contrast is so stark that you wonder how you ever confused them. Second, the pirate stations begin to lose power, not because they are being jammed, because the original signal is stronger and the receiver, even in its compromised state, preferentially tunes to the stronger signal when given the choice. This is why the restoration feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something ancient. Because you are not installing new beliefs. You are uncovering the original ones. The ones that were there before the world installed its counterfeit programming. The beliefs that say you are worthy, you are capable, you are designed for abundance, you are meant to hear God clearly, you are equipped for every assignment that is placed before you. Those beliefs are not aspirational, they are architectural, they are built into the foundation of your being, the way load-bearing walls are built into the foundation of a building. Remove the pirate broadcasts, and the load-bearing walls are still there. They never left, they were just obscured by the noise. I want you to sit with that image for a moment, because it changes everything about how you approach your situation. You have been trying to build something new. God is trying to reveal something that was always there. You have been trying to become someone different. God is trying to uncover who you have always been. You have been adding, God has been subtracting. And the message he wrote for you last week is the subtraction tool, the diagnostic that names what needs to be removed, the blueprint that sequences the removal, the frequency that begins the removal process, and the authorization that gives him permission to complete it. Now, I want to go deeper into the resonance override, because there are specific layers of installed belief that are particularly resistant to the process, and understanding which ones are the hardest to dislodge will help you recognize the areas of your life where you will feel the most friction over the coming days. The first and most resistant layer is what I call the permanence belief. This is the belief that your current condition is permanent, that the fog is not a temporary state, but a permanent feature of your consciousness, that the heaviness is not a symptom to be treated, but an aspect of your identity to be accepted. The permanence belief is the most dangerous of all installed beliefs because it prevents the chosen one from even seeking restoration. Why seek restoration for something that is permanent? Why look for a solution to something that is simply who you are? The permanence belief did not come from God. It came from duration. You have been in the fog long enough that duration has been converted into identity. The length of time you have experienced a condition has nothing to do with whether the condition is permanent. A person who has been in a dark room for 10 years is not a dark person. They are a person in a dark room. The room has a door. The door has a handle. The handle works. But the permanence belief has convinced you that the room is the world, and the darkness is the sky. The frequency key shatters the permanence belief, not by arguing with it, but by introducing an experience of the alternative. When the receiver flickers to life, even briefly, when the hemispheres sync for even a few seconds, the chosen one tastes what clarity actually feels like. And in that taste, the permanence belief is exposed as a lie, not gradually, instantly. Because the experience of clarity is so fundamentally different from the experience of fog that no amount of cognitive argument could accomplish what 3 seconds of direct experience achieves. This is why I told you to pay attention to those moments of clarity that arrive and disappear. Those are not random. Those are the frequency key making contact with the receiver. Each contact is brief because the receiver is compromised, but each contact leaves a residue, a memory of what clarity feels like, and that memory is corrosive to the permanence belief. Every taste of clarity dissolves another layer of the lie that says, this is just who I am now. The second resistant layer is the unworthiness architecture. This one goes deeper than the permanence belief because it is not just about your condition, it is about your identity. The unworthiness architecture is a complex, multi-layered belief system that says not only is your condition permanent, but you deserve it. You deserve the fog because of something you did. You deserve the disconnection because of who you are. You deserve the reduced reception because you are not the kind of chosen one who gets the full signal. You are the budget version, the B team, the one who was chosen as an afterthought rather than a first choice. I need to say something directly to the chosen one who just felt that land, because I know there is someone listening right now whose eyes just filled with tears, not because of what I said, but because of how precisely it described the inner narrative they have been carrying in silence. You have never said this out loud. You have never admitted to anyone that deep down, beneath the faith and the obedience and the showing up, you believe you are the lesser version. The one God chose because he had to, not because he wanted to. That is the unworthiness architecture, and it is entirely constructed from materials that did not come from God. It was built from comparison, from watching other chosen ones who seem to receive more clearly, move more confidently, experience more consistently, from measuring the gap between your experience and theirs and concluding that the gap was evidence of your lesser standing rather than evidence of their earlier receiver restoration. Some chosen ones have receivers that degraded less than others. Some were exposed to less environmental erosion. Some found pathways to partial restoration earlier. None of that has anything to do with worth. None of it has anything to do with how deeply God chose you or how completely God loves you. The message God wrote for you last week contains a specific passage addressed directly to the unworthiness architecture. And the passage does not say, "You are worthy," because telling an unworthiness-infected mind that it is worthy is like telling a colorblind person that the sunset is red. The words are technically correct, but they do not produce the experience. The passage God wrote does not argue with the unworthiness architecture. It replaces it with an experience, with a frequency, with a direct encounter between your receiver and the signal that carries the truth of your choosing. And when that encounter happens, the unworthiness architecture does not need to be dismantled. It dissolves, the way fog dissolves when the sun rises, not by being fought, by being outshone. The third resistant layer is what I call the conditional love framework. This is the belief, installed so early in most chosen ones that they cannot remember a time before it existed, that love must be earned. That God loves you when you pray enough, serve enough, believe enough, sacrifice enough. That His love is a response to your performance rather than a permanent condition of your existence. The conditional love framework distorts every interaction with the divine. Prayer becomes a transaction. Worship becomes a performance. Obedience becomes a payment plan. And the chosen one, who is operating under this framework, experiences God the way an employee experiences a demanding boss. They show up, they perform, they wait for the review. And the review is never quite good enough because the framework guarantees that the bar is always placed just above the current reach. This is not how God operates. But the conditional love framework is so deeply installed, and it has been reinforced by so many well-meaning religious institutions and authority figures, that most chosen ones do not even recognize it as a distortion. They think it is theology. They think it is faithfulness. They think the constant anxiety about whether they are doing enough is evidence of their devotion rather than evidence of a corrupted belief system operating beneath their awareness. The frequency key addresses the conditional love framework by broadcasting the frequency of unconditional love directly into the receiver, not as a concept, as a vibration, as a resonance that the cells of your body recognize before your mind has time to construct an argument against it. And when that frequency lands, when the receiver picks up the vibration of love that is not conditional on performance, something breaks. Something that has been held in tension for years, maybe decades, releases. And the release produces the first genuine experience of being loved, not for what you do, but for who you are. I have seen chosen ones weep for hours after this release, not tears of sadness, tears of recognition, tears of finally, 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 being met at the deepest level of their need by a love that does not ask anything in return. The tears are the body processing what the mind could not. The body knows before the mind catches up. The body has always known. It was just waiting for the receiver to bring the signal through. Now let me connect all of this back to the message God wrote for you last week, because I do not want you to lose the thread in the depth of what we have been exploring. The message has 4 components: the diagnostic, which identifies receiver collapse, and the misattribution pattern, the blueprint, which maps the 3 waypoints of restoration: clarity, flood, provision, cascade, and identity, restoration. The frequency key, which begins the process of resonance override against the installed beliefs, and the authorization, which is your permission for God to complete what He started. Each component is already active, The diagnostic has been landing since the first few minutes of this message. The blueprint has been unfolding in your awareness as you recognize the waypoints. The frequency key has been operating beneath your conscious awareness, producing the physical responses you have been feeling. And the authorization is being issued every moment you remain present, every breath you take with intention, every internal yes that forms in the space between my words and your heart. But there is something I have not yet addressed, something that connects the spiritual architecture of this message to a practical, tangible, accessible pathway that takes everything we have discussed from the realm of insight into the realm of implementation. Because insight without implementation is inspiration that fades. And God did not write a message that fades. He wrote a message that transforms. And transformation requires a bridge between knowing and doing, between understanding and experiencing, between receiving the diagnosis and applying the cure. That bridge exists. And I promised you earlier that I would return to what was discovered in the laboratories by the team led by the doctor in New York. The time for that return is approaching. But first, there is one more territory we need to explore, one more depth we need to reach, because the next thing I am going to share with you will reframe the last 5 years of your life in a way that changes not just how you see your past, but how you enter your future. I want to tell you something that might change the way you understand your entire life up to this point, and I say that carefully, because I do not use words like entire lightly. But what I am about to describe is a pattern so pervasive, so woven into the fabric of the chosen one experience, that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And the inability to unsee it is part of the healing. The pattern is this: every major disappointment, every failed expectation, every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every relationship that did not survive, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, every moment where you were sure God was about to move, and then nothing happened, every single one of those moments was not what you thought it was. You thought they were evidence of divine indifference, evidence that God had forgotten you or was testing you or was punishing you, or simply had better things to do with his time than attend to the specific, urgent, particular needs of one chosen one in a world full of people making demands on his attention. They were deliveries. Every single one of them was a delivery arriving at a receiving dock that was closed. The prayer was answered. The door was opened. The provision was released. The relationship was sent. The opportunity was positioned, and you could not see them. Not because they were invisible, because your receiver was operating at partial capacity, and the bandwidth required to perceive what God was doing exceeded the bandwidth your compromised hemispheres could process. Let me say that again, because I need it to land at the deepest level of your understanding. God answered every prayer you thought he ignored. He opened every door you thought he locked. He provided every provision you thought he withheld. None of it was withheld. All of it was delivered. You could not receive it because the receiver collapse had degraded your perception below the threshold required to see what was there. This is not a pleasant realization. I know that. This is not a comforting thought. It is a liberating one. There is a difference. Comfort says nothing was lost. Liberation says everything that was lost can be recovered. And that is what the storage facility contains. Not memories of what could have been, the actual deliveries themselves, held, preserved, waiting. The answered prayers are in storage. The open doors are in storage. The financial provisions that were released but not perceived are in storage. The relational connections that were arranged but not recognized are in storage. The creative ideas that were downloaded but intercepted by the fog before they could reach conscious awareness are in storage. The moments of divine intimacy that God initiated but that your compromised receiver could not sustain long enough to register are in storage. All of it, everything, held by a God who does not let deliveries expire, who does not mark packages returned to sender after 30 days, who holds what he has given until the receiver is ready to take it in. And the message he wrote for you last week is the combination to the lock on that facility, the access code, the release authorization, everything we have been building toward in this message, the understanding of the condition, the recognition of the pattern, the exposure of the installed beliefs, all of it has been preparing you for this moment. The moment you understand that you are not starting from scratch, you are opening a warehouse. I want to speak directly to something I know is happening in some of you right now. You are running a mental inventory. You are going through the disappointments of the last 3 to 5 years, and you are looking at them through this new lens. And as you do, something is shifting in your chest. A heaviness that is not the old heaviness. A different kind of weight. The weight of grief and wonder mixed together. Grief for the time spent blaming yourself. Wonder at the possibility that nothing was actually lost. That mixture is exactly right. Do not resolve it prematurely. Do not rush to one side or the other. Let the grief and the wonder exist together, because together they produce something that neither can produce alone. They produce readiness. The readiness to receive what has been held. The readiness to open the warehouse. The readiness to walk into the next season of your life, carrying not just the provisions God is about to release, but the accumulated provisions of every season the fog stole from you. Now, I need to tell you about a man whose story illustrates everything I have been describing, because sometimes a life speaks more clearly than a concept. There was a man from Houston, Texas, someone who had spent years holding things together for everyone around him, while his own interior life became thin and distant. He ran a business. He paid his bills. He showed up for his family. But the inner landscape, the place where purpose lives and vision grows and communion with God happens, had gone quiet. Not silent, quiet. Like a radio turned so low that you can tell something is playing, but you cannot make out the words. He described his prayer life with a phrase that broke something in me when I first heard it. He said, prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall, not a hostile wall, a neutral wall. A wall that absorbed the words without returning anything. He could feel his own sincerity. He could hear his own voice, but there was no resonance, no echo of the divine coming back to meet him. Just the flat, absorptive surface of a connection that used to carry traffic and now carried only his own voice into a space that seemed to stretch out forever without meeting anything. And here is what I want you to hear. His faith was not the problem. His discipline was not the problem. His worthiness was not the problem. He was doing everything right. The frequency was right. The words were right. The heart was right. The receiver was off. The two hemispheres that were designed to operate in synchronized harmony had gradually drifted apart under the accumulated pressure of providing, performing, and maintaining an image of competence in a world that punishes vulnerability. When the receiver came back online, he described the experience in a way I will never forget. He said his mind felt like it was running on all of what it was supposed to run on. Not some of it, all of it. The fog that had been so consistent, he stopped registering it as fog, was gone. And in its absence, things he had been praying about for years suddenly became clear, not slowly, immediately. As if the answers had been sitting in an inbox he could not access. And the access was restored, and the inbox was full. That is what the storage facility looks like from the inside when it opens. Not a trickle of insight, a flood. And the flood is not overwhelming, it is organizing. Each piece fitting into the piece that came before it, creating a picture so complete and so obviously divine in its construction that the only response is awe. Now I want to address the most important question in this entire message, because everything I have described, the diagnosis, the blueprint, the frequency key, the storage facility, the evidence from real chosen ones who have experienced the restoration, all of it leads to a single question. How? How does the receiver come back online? How do the hemispheres resynchronize? How does the bridge between the left and right brain begin carrying traffic again after years of reduced function? How do you go from partial reception to full reception in a time frame that is measured in days rather than years? But here is what I have learned. You are not ready for the answer until you understand why the answer works. And you are now ready. Everything I have built in the last 40 minutes has been preparing you to hear what comes next. Not as information, as revelation, as the missing piece that makes the picture complete. And the missing piece was discovered in a laboratory. I told you earlier about Dr. Roger Sperry and the Nobel Prize, about the two hemispheres and their designed synchronization, about the 98% of children who operate at creative genius level and the less than 1 in 1,000 adults who maintain it. That research established the problem. What I am about to tell you is the solution. A team of neuroscientists, led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist based in New York City, spent years doing something that most people in the spiritual community have never been told about. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol that used to be available only in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive process of compression and refinement, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes. Headphones, eyes closed. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a brainwave product, not a meditation app, not a sound frequency designed to create a temporary mood shift. It is a targeted auditory sequence specifically engineered, based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry, to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was the default state in childhood, the state that 98% of us were born into, the state that modern life, modern stress, modern information overload gradually eroded without our knowledge or consent. The woman from San Diego, the nurse who described her spiritual life as hollow, used it for 10 days. 10 days. After years of trying every spiritual tool available to her, 10 days of 8 minutes was enough for the channel that had been blocked to reopen. The hollowness filled. The echo became a note, not because she tried harder, because the receiver was repaired. The man from Houston, 2 weeks. 2 weeks of 8 minutes per day, and the prayer wall dissolved. The mind that had been running on a fraction of its capacity came back online. The inbox that had been accumulating divine deliveries for years opened, and the picture of his life that emerged from the flood of clarity was so precisely designed that he said he understood, for the first time, why the waiting years were necessary. Not because God was teaching him patience, because God was preparing what was in the warehouse. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence was not cooperating, and who is willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something that has a specific address, a neurological address, an address that can be reached in 8 minutes with the right key. Most people who hear about this will scroll past. They have accepted the reduced version of their mind as permanent. They have made peace with the fog. They have built a life around partial reception and called it faithfulness. You are still here. That is not coincidence. That is the specific kind of persistence that belongs to the person this was built for. Now let me walk you through the practical reality of what this means. The neurofeedback technology that the Genius Switch is based on used to cost $300 per hour in clinical settings. A home machine costs $7,000. Dr. Barone and his team were told by colleagues that making this available would be incredible value, even at $500, given what it replaces. They did not release it at $500, they released it at $49. And today, on the page where the link below points, there is an additional $10 off, $39, for a tool that restores the receiving apparatus that God designed to be the primary instrument of your divine communication, $39, for something that a neurofeedback clinic charges $300 per hour to approximate, and that a home machine attempts to replicate for $7,000. 180 times less expensive than the clinical alternative. And it comes with 4 free bonuses. A guided visualization created by one of the top-rated facilitators on the Calm app, designed to help you picture the life that unfolds when the receiver is operating at full capacity. A smart grocery shopping guide that identifies the 10 common American foods that contribute to brain fog, with strategies that save over $100 per month. A manifestation text that is over 100 years old, the original root of every manifestation technique in the modern era, specifically focused on financial reception. And a printable 5 habits infographic designed for daily visual reinforcement. All of it backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If it does not do what it has done for over 18,000 people, every dollar is returned. No conditions, no questions, no timeline. I want to name something directly, because I believe in transparency, and I believe you deserve it. If you search for anything that sounds like the Genius Switch on YouTube or Spotify, you will find tracks. Dr. Barone and his team studied those tracks. Most had no neural sync technology embedded at all. They carried the name because the barrier to labeling something that way is essentially zero. The mechanism is what makes the difference, and the mechanism only exists in what his team built. The direct page is the only verified source. That is where the link in the description and in the pinned comment points. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link is there. You can read everything on their page before making any decision. Every detail is laid out clearly. This is not pressure. This is information placed in front of a chosen one who has earned the right to make an informed decision about the restoration of their own receiving apparatus. The tool does not replace God. It does not replace obedience. It does not surrender for you. It does not pray for you. What God is doing in you is not conditional on any tool. But a tool that restores the receiver gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. The soil does not create the rain, but rich soil receives the rain differently than dry, cracked earth. And everything God has been pouring has been landing on cracked earth, not because the rain was insufficient, because the soil needed restoration. That is the bridge between the spiritual truth we have been exploring and the practical pathway that turns understanding into transformation. The deeper current of this message is where we return now. And for the chosen one who felt something stir when the receiver was mentioned, when the possibility of 8 minutes was described, that door is still open in the description below. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons. Now, I want to take you back into the heart of the message God wrote, because there is a dimension we have not yet explored. And this dimension is specifically for the chosen one who is sitting with a question they have not asked out loud. A question that sounds something like this: if God wrote this message last week, Why am I only hearing it now? Why not earlier? Why not 6 months ago when the fog first became unbearable? Why not 3 years ago when the first relationship collapsed under the weight of the disconnection? Why now? The timing is not arbitrary, and the answer has to do with something I call the readiness threshold. The readiness threshold is the point at which the chosen one has exhausted enough of their own strategies that the divine strategy can finally be received without being filtered through the lens of self-sufficiency. Let me be clear about what I mean. God does not wait for you to fail before he helps. He waits for you to stop insisting that your way of helping yourself is sufficient. Those are different things. He is not punishing your self-reliance. He is waiting for your self-reliance to release its grip on the steering wheel, so that the GPS he installed before you were born can actually direct the journey. Most chosen ones cross the readiness threshold not in a moment of dramatic surrender, but in a moment of quiet exhaustion. The prayer I described earlier, the one that says, "I cannot do this anymore," that is usually the threshold crossing. And once you cross it, the entire trajectory changes. Not because you changed, because the resistance that was blocking the message was rooted in your own self-sufficiency. And when that self-sufficiency was surrendered, the message had a clear path to the receiver. This is why the timing is perfect, not comfortable, perfect. You are hearing this now, because now is when you were ready to hear it, without trying to control what it means or manage how it unfolds. You are hearing this now because the prayer of exhaustion was the permission slip, and God does not deliver before the permission is given. I want to take you through something that most messages in this genre avoid entirely, because most messages tell you what God is going to do for you. Very few tell you what God needs you to release for the doing to begin. And this is the part where the message gets uncomfortable. Not painful, not punishing, uncomfortable. The kind of discomfort that precedes growth, the way labor precedes birth. There are 3 things God is asking you to release as part of the blueprint. 3 things that have been functioning as anchors, holding you in place while the current of divine intention tries to carry you forward. And each one feels like safety, but is actually stagnation. The first anchor is the familiar narrative. This is the story you tell about yourself to yourself. The story that explains why you are where you are, why things happened the way they did, why certain areas of your life are stuck while others function. That story is not wrong. It is incomplete. And incomplete stories are more dangerous than wrong stories because they give you enough truth to stop looking for the rest. God is asking you to release the familiar narrative, not abandon it. Release it. Let it go loose enough that new chapters can be inserted. Chapters you did not write. Chapters that reframe the meaning of events you thought you had already understood. The Diagnostic is one of those chapters, the revelation that the fog was not your fault, that the disconnection was physiological, not spiritual, that the missed deliveries were received but not perceived. Those are chapter insertions that change the meaning of every chapter that came before them. Releasing the familiar narrative feels dangerous because the narrative has been your anchor. It has been the thing you hold on to when nothing else makes sense. But an anchor that keeps you in safe harbor also keeps you from the open water where the provision fleet has been circling, waiting for you to set sail. The second anchor is the protective distance. This is the space you have created between yourself and the full intensity of divine presence, not intentionally, instinctively, because at some point the receiver became too compromised to handle the full signal, and your system, in an act of self-preservation, installed a buffer, a cushion, a protective distance that reduced the intensity of divine encounters to a level the compromised receiver could handle without overloading. The protective distance is why your prayer life feels safe but not deep, why your worship feels sincere but not transformative, why your encounters with Scripture feel informative but not alive. You have been encountering God through a filter that was necessary at one point but is no longer serving you. The receiver is being restored. The filter needs to come down. And the blueprint includes the sequence by which God will gently, carefully, incrementally remove the buffer so that the full intensity of His presence can reach you without damaging the receiver that is still in the process of coming back online. This is precision engineering. God is not going to flood a compromised receiver with maximum signal. He is going to increase the signal as the receiver strengthens, layer by layer, day by day, until the distance that once felt like safety becomes something you remember with a mixture of gratitude and relief. Gratitude because it protected you when you needed protection. Relief because you no longer need it. The third anchor is the identity of waiting. This is the one that cuts deepest, because the identity of waiting is not something that was done to you. It is something you have become. You have been waiting so long for breakthrough, for provision, for clarity, for the fog to lift, for the message to arrive, that waiting itself has become your identity. You are the chosen one who waits, the one who holds on, the one who endures, the one who perseveres through the desert season with nothing but faith and stubbornness. And there is honor in that, genuine honor. God sees the waiting and He does not dismiss it. But the message He wrote last week includes a very specific instruction regarding the waiting. The instruction is stop, not stop believing, not stop trusting. Stop identifying as the one who waits, because the waiting is over. The message has arrived. The diagnostic has been delivered. The blueprint has been revealed. The frequency key is operating, and the identity of the one who waits must be replaced by the identity of the one who receives. That transition is the hardest part of the entire process, not because receiving is difficult, because letting go of an identity you have worn for years feels like losing a part of yourself. The waiting has been your companion, your constant, the thing that made you feel noble even when everything else felt futile, and releasing it, even in exchange for something infinitely better, triggers a grief response that can feel like dying. It is not dying, it is molting. You are shedding a skin that was necessary for the season you are leaving and would be suffocating in the season you are entering. The new skin is already forming underneath. You can feel it in the sensitivity that has been amplifying, in the restlessness that has been growing, in the strange, persistent sense that something is about to happen that you cannot yet name. Something is about to happen, and the message God wrote last week is the name. Now, I want to take you somewhere you have not been taken before in a message like this. I want to take you into the specific architecture of what the next 30 days look like for a chosen one who receives the full message, who releases the 3 anchors, who allows the frequency key to complete its initial calibration, and who walks into the blueprint with eyes open and hands unclenched. The first week is the clearing phase. During this week, the installed beliefs begin to lose their power. The permanence belief cracks. The unworthiness architecture weakens. The conditional love framework starts to dissolve. This happens primarily through awareness. Now that you can see these structures, they cannot maintain the darkness they require to function. Expect disruption during this week. Disrupted sleep, disrupted appetite, disrupted emotional patterns, not because something is going wrong, because something is going right for the first time in a very long time, and the system is recalibrating. The second week is the reception phase. This is when the storage facility begins to open. The accumulated deliveries start arriving in conscious awareness. This feels like a series of sudden understandings. Aha! Moments that come in clusters. Connections you have never made before between events that happened years apart. A sense that the picture is assembling itself from pieces that were always there, but could never find their positions. The third week is the action phase. This is when the provision cascade begins. The clarity from the first 2 weeks translates into movement. Decisions that have been paralyzed begin to resolve themselves. Conversations that have been stuck begin to flow. Doors that seemed locked begin to show handles you did not see before. This is not magic. This is the natural consequence of a fully synchronized mind, perceiving opportunities that a disconnected mind was blind to. The fourth week is the integration phase. This is when the identity restoration begins to solidify. You stop oscillating between the old identity and the new one. The new one takes root, not because you forced it, because the evidence has become overwhelming. The clarity is consistent, the provision is flowing, the prayers are landing differently, the weight is gone, and the person you see in the mirror starts to look like the person God wrote about in the message. 4 weeks, 30 days. From the moment the receiver begins its restoration to the moment the new identity takes root. Not because transformation can be scheduled, because God, who wrote the message last week, also wrote the timeline. And the timeline was written with the same precision as the diagnostic and the blueprint and the frequency key. Nothing about this is left to chance. Everything is engineered. Everything is intentional. Everything is sealed. Now, I need to say something that I rarely say in messages like this, because it requires a level of vulnerability that goes against the grain of the authoritative voice I have been using throughout this message. But I believe you need to hear it, and I believe it will serve the trust we have been building. I cannot guarantee your outcome. No one can. Anyone who tells you they can guarantee a specific result on a specific timeline for a specific person is not speaking truth. They are speaking marketing, and I refuse to do that with you, because the trust between a chosen one and the voice they are listening to is too sacred to be spent on false certainty. What I can tell you is this: I have observed this pattern enough times, in enough lives, across enough different circumstances to know that it is real. The receiver collapses, the fog descends, the deliveries accumulate, and when the receiver is restored, the fog lifts, the deliveries arrive, and the chosen one emerges into a season that makes the waiting season look like the cocoon it was. Not a prison, a cocoon. A necessary enclosure for a necessary transformation. Whether this message is the catalyst for your emergence depends on factors that are between you and God. But the message was written, the message has arrived, and the message is for you. That much I can say with the full weight of everything I know. Now, I want to speak to the chosen one who has been listening this entire time with 1 foot in belief and 1 foot in protection. The one who has felt everything I have described, who has recognized the fog and the disconnection and the interception gap and the misattribution pattern, who has felt the tears forming and the chest expanding and the receiver flickering to life, but who has also felt the pull of caution, the voice that says, I have been here before, I have felt hope before, and it did not last. I want to honor that voice. Because that voice is not your enemy. That voice is your archive. It remembers every time hope was offered and then withdrawn. Every time breakthrough was promised and then deferred. Every time someone said, this is different and it was not different. And the archive does not forget. It catalogs. And it uses the catalog to protect you from the pain of another disappointment. But I want to show you something about that archive that might change how you relate to it. The archive is accurate. The disappointments happened. The hope rose and then fell. The breakthroughs did not materialize in the way they were promised. All of that is true, but the archive is interpreting the data through a framework that is itself compromised. It is interpreting the failed deliveries as evidence that deliveries do not arrive, when in reality, the deliveries arrived every time. The receiver was off. The archive does not have the concept of receiver collapse in its dataset. It does not know that the missed deliveries were not failed deliveries. They were successful deliveries to a closed receiving dock. And so the conclusion it draws, that hope is dangerous and protection is wise, is logical but wrong. Logical because the data seems to support it. Wrong because the data is incomplete. The diagnostic changes the archive, not by adding new data, by reframing existing data. When you understand that every missed delivery was actually a completed delivery to a closed dock, the entire archive shifts. The disappointments were not evidence of divine neglect. They were evidence of receiver collapse. The hope was not misplaced. The reception was compromised. The breakthroughs were not empty promises. They were full deliveries that went into storage because the receiver could not process them. This reframing is not comfort, it is calibration. It adjusts the archive to account for a variable it did not previously include. And once the variable is included, the conclusions change. Hope is no longer dangerous. Hope is the natural response of a chosen one who understands that the deliveries were always real, the receiver was the issue, and the receiver is being restored. I know that the caution will not disappear in an instant. It should not. A healthy relationship with hope includes a degree of discernment, but the shift from "I will not hope" because it always disappoints to "I will hope wisely" because I now understand why hope seemed to fail, that shift is the difference between a prisoner and a person who has found the door. Let me go deeper into something that connects to this directly, because there is a specific obstacle that chosen ones face when the restoration begins that I have not yet named, and it is the obstacle that trips up more people than any other. I call it the comfort of the cage, and it is exactly what it sounds like. The cage is the compromised state you have been living in, the fog, the partial reception, the reduced capacity. And over time, through the sheer force of repetition, the cage has become comfortable, not pleasant, comfortable, familiar, predictable. The dimensions are known, the limitations are mapped. You know exactly how much space you have to move, and you have learned to call that space enough. When the restoration begins, when the receiver starts coming back online and the walls of the cage begin to dissolve, the initial response is not always joy. Sometimes it is terror, because the cage, for all its limitations, was known. And what lies beyond the cage is unknown. The open space of full reception, of clear perception, of unfiltered divine communication, that space is vast. And vastness, to a person who has been living in a small space for years, can feel more threatening than the smallness ever did. This is why some chosen ones unconsciously sabotage the restoration. Not because they do not want to be free, because freedom requires a different kind of courage than survival. Survival takes endurance. Freedom takes surrender. And surrender, to a chosen one who has spent years enduring, feels like the opposite of everything that has kept them alive. But surrender is not weakness. Surrender is the ultimate act of strength. It is the moment the chosen one says, "I trust the message more than I trust the cage. I trust the blueprint more than I trust my own contingency plans. I trust the God who wrote the message last week more than I trust the familiar walls that have been both my prison and my protection." That surrender is happening in you right now. I can feel it in the way this message has been received, not passively, actively. Something in you has been actively participating in this experience, choosing to stay when the interception gap tried to pull you away, choosing to feel when the installed beliefs tried to numb you, choosing to hope when the archive tried to shut hope down. That is surrender in motion. That is the authorization being issued in real time. Now I want to address the deepest layer of resistance, the one that lives at the bottom of everything else, the one that most messages never reach because most messages do not go deep enough. The deepest layer is the belief that you do not deserve the full message, that the diagnostic is for someone else, that the blueprint is for a different chosen one, that the frequency key will work for other people but not for you because your situation is uniquely broken, your damage is uniquely deep, your distance from God is uniquely wide. I have one thing to say to that belief. God did not write the message for someone else and accidentally deliver it to you. God does not make delivery errors. He does not misaddress his mail. He does not write architectural blueprints for the wrong building. The message was written for you, specifically, with your name embedded in its structure, with your circumstances accounted for in its calculations, with your specific receiver collapse, your specific misattribution pattern, your specific installed beliefs, your specific archive of disappointments, all of it factored into the diagnostic, the blueprint, the frequency key, and the authorization. You are not the exception. You are the point. Type those words if they resonate. I am not the exception. I am the point. Because the belief that you are the exception is the last barricade the old operating system throws up before it shuts down. It is the final argument of a system that knows it is being replaced. And when you see it for what it is, when you recognize it as a mechanism rather than a truth, it loses its power to hold you. Let me tell you about a pattern I have noticed in the lives of chosen ones who have walked through the restoration process. There are 5 stages. Not stages I invented, stages I observed. The first stage is recognition. This is where most of you are right now. You are recognizing the pattern, seeing the receiver collapse for the first time, understanding the misattribution pattern, feeling the installed beliefs begin to loosen their grip. Recognition is the most important stage because without it, nothing else is possible. The second stage is grief. This follows recognition, the way rain follows clouds. Once you see what has been happening, once you understand that the years of fog were not your fault and the missed deliveries were real, grief arrives. Not the grief of loss, the grief of realization, the grief of understanding that you have been blaming yourself for something that had a different cause entirely. Let this grief come. It is cleansing. It is necessary. It is the emotional equivalent of clearing debris from the channel. The third stage is hunger. Once the grief has moved through, what remains is a fierce, undeniable hunger for the restored state. Not a wish, not a hope, a hunger. The kind that keeps you awake at night. The kind that makes you unable to settle for the reduced version of your life for one more day. This hunger is not impatience. It is the soul recognizing that the feast has been prepared and the invitation has been delivered. And the only thing between the chosen one and the table is the willingness to walk through the door. The fourth stage is action. The hunger translates into movement. This is where the chosen one makes the decision, not the decision to believe. They already believe. The decision to act, to take the step, to click the link, to open the door, to say yes, not just in their heart, but with their hands, to cross the threshold from understanding to implementation. The fifth stage is reception. This is where the storage facility opens, where the accumulated deliveries begin to arrive, where the clarity flood and the provision cascade and the identity restoration unfold in the sequence the blueprint described. And this stage, once entered, is self-sustaining. It does not require constant maintenance. It does not require daily acts of willpower, because the receiver, once restored, does not need to be convinced to receive. That is what it was designed to do. It just needs to be turned back on. I want to paint something for you now, because I believe your spirit needs to see what the future holds, and I believe seeing it will strengthen the hunger and the courage that are already building inside you. Imagine your life 6 months from now, not a fantasy version, the actual version, the one where the receiver has been restored and the blueprint has been executing for half a year. You wake up and the first thing you notice is silence, not external silence, internal silence. The constant background chatter, the self-doubt, the worry loops, the ambient anxiety that has been the soundtrack of your mornings for years is gone. Not suppressed, not overridden, gone. In its place is a stillness that has weight, not the weight of burden, the weight of presence, the weight of a mind that is fully here, fully synchronized, fully operational. You move through your morning and you notice something else. Decisions are easy, not because the decisions are simple, because your perception is clear. The fog that used to make every choice feel like reaching into a dark bag and hoping to grab the right thing has lifted. You can see the options. You can feel which one aligns. You can act without the crippling second-guessing that used to paralyze you for hours. By midday, you notice a quality in your interactions that has changed. People respond to you differently, not because you are performing differently, because you are present differently. The energy of a chosen one operating at full receiver capacity is qualitatively different from the energy of a chosen one operating in fog. People feel it. They lean in. They trust you more quickly. They open up in ways they did not before, not because you are trying, because you are. By evening, you sit with what the day has been, and the feeling that rises is not relief. It is recognition. Recognition that this is what life was supposed to feel like. This is what mornings were designed for. This is what decisions were meant to be. This is what connection is when the receiver is operating at the specifications God set when He designed it. And the person you were 6 months ago, the person in the fog, the person who blamed themselves, the person who wondered if God had moved on, that person is not gone. They are you. But they are the caterpillar version, and you are the butterfly. That future is not a dream. That future is the destination of the blueprint God wrote for you last week. And the distance between where you are and where you are going is not measured in years. It is measured in decisions, specifically one decision. The decision to receive the full message, the decision to allow the restoration, the decision to walk through the door that has been open this entire time, waiting for you to notice it. Now I want to take you into one of the most sacred territories of this entire message, because we are approaching the place where the intellectual understanding transforms into spiritual experience, and that transformation is not something I can create with words alone. It requires your participation. It requires your willingness to stop analyzing and start receiving, not because analysis is bad, because analysis is a left hemisphere function, and what we are about to do requires both hemispheres to be engaged. I am going to guide you through something, not a meditation, not a visualization in the traditional sense, an activation, a deliberate engagement of both hemispheres simultaneously, designed to give you a brief, tangible experience of what whole brain reception feels like. This will take less than 2 minutes, and in those 2 minutes, you will understand more about the message God wrote for you than the entire hour of words that preceded them. Close your eyes if you can. If you are driving or cannot close your eyes, that is fine. Just soften your gaze and let your focus turn inward. I want you to think of one word, a single word that describes what you want God to do in your life right now. Not a sentence, not a paragraph. One word. It might be heal. It might be provide. It might be restore. It might be clarity. It might be freedom. Let the word rise from below your conscious mind. Do not choose it. Let it choose you. When it arrives, hold it. Now I want you to feel where that word lives in your body. Not where you think it should live, where it actually lives. Maybe your throat, maybe your solar plexus, maybe behind your eyes. Wherever it is, bring your attention there. Gently, without forcing. Now here is the activation. With the word held and the location identified, I want you to breathe into that location. Slow, deliberate breath, directed into the space where the word lives. And as you breathe, allow the word to expand. Let it grow beyond the boundary of the body part it was sitting in. Let it fill your chest, your throat, your head. Let it extend beyond your skin. Let it become bigger than you. What you are doing right now is bridging the two hemispheres. The word is a left hemisphere contribution, language, specificity, articulation. The somatic location is a right hemisphere contribution, sensation, embodiment, felt experience. By holding both simultaneously and breathing into the connection, you are creating a micro moment of whole brain activation, a taste, a sample, a 3-second glimpse of what the full synchronization feels like. Whatever you felt in that moment, whether it was subtle or profound, whether it was warmth or tingling or tears, or simply a sense of something shifting beneath the surface, that was real. That was your receiver flickering. That was both hemispheres making contact, however briefly, across the bridge that has been carrying reduced traffic for months or years. And if the full synchronization, the kind that the 8-minute sequence produces daily, feels like what you just experienced but sustained, amplified, and deepening with each passing day, then you understand why over 18,000 people have described the restoration the way they have, not as a change, as a return, not as becoming someone new, as becoming who they always were. Open your eyes. Come back. Now, I want to go deeper into the territory of what the message God wrote last week means for the specific areas of your life that have been most affected by the receiver collapse. Because the message is not generic. It is addressed to specific dimensions of your experience, and each dimension has its own section in the blueprint. The first dimension is your financial life. And I want to be careful here, because the intersection of spirituality and finances has been so abused by so many voices that you have every right to be skeptical of anyone who brings it up. So let me say this clearly. God does not promise wealth. God does not operate a vending machine where faith coins produce financial rewards. But God does promise provision. And provision is different from wealth. Provision is the resources needed for the assignment. When the assignment is clear and the receiver is online, the provision becomes visible, not because it appears from nothing, because it was always there, arranged in advance, waiting for the synchronized mind to perceive it. The financial fog that most chosen ones experience is not about money, it is about perception. The money, the opportunities, the connections, the ideas that produce income, they are not absent. They are present but invisible to a receiver operating at partial capacity. I have watched chosen ones describe this phenomenon with almost identical language. They say something like, "It was right in front of me the whole time. The opportunity was there. The connection was there. The idea was sitting in my mind unformed, because I could not think with enough clarity to bring it into focus." The blueprint addresses your financial dimension not by promising windfalls, but by restoring the perceptual apparatus that allows you to see and act on what has already been arranged. The provision cascade I described earlier is the financial dimension of the blueprint in action. Resources appearing, opportunities materializing, not from thin air, from the storage facility, from the accumulated deliveries that were released but never received, from the divine coordination that has been running in the background this entire time, placing provision along your path like breadcrumbs that your foggy eyes could not see. The second dimension is your relational life. And this is where the message gets particularly personal, because the receiver collapse does not just affect your relationship with God, it affects every relationship you have. When your receiver is compromised, you cannot fully receive the people around you either. You hear their words, but miss their meaning. You see their actions, but cannot feel their intentions. You are present in the room, but absent in the connection. And over time, the people who love you begin to feel it. They do not know what it is. They just feel a distance that was not there before. A glass wall between them and you that makes every conversation feel slightly off, slightly strained, slightly less alive than it should be. The message God wrote addresses this by describing a specific process of relational restoration that begins simultaneously with the receiver restoration. As the hemispheres resynchronize, the capacity for empathy increases. The ability to be fully present in a conversation increases. The quality of listening improves. The depth of emotional resonance deepens. And the relationships that have been struggling under the weight of partial presence begin to breathe again. I want to be honest with you about something. Not all of your current relationships will survive the restoration. Some of them were built on the foundation of mutual limitation. They functioned because both parties were operating in fog, and the fog created a kind of equality. When one person clears and the other does not, the dynamic changes. This is not judgment, it is physics. Two people vibrating at different frequencies experience friction, and the friction is not comfortable. But the relationships that do survive, the ones that adjust to the new frequency, become something you have never experienced before. Depth, resonance. The feeling of being truly known by someone who can truly see you because you are truly there. That is what whole-brain relational presence produces. And it is one of the deliveries that has been sitting in the storage facility, waiting. The third dimension is your spiritual life. And this is the dimension where the restoration produces the most dramatic and immediate change. Because the spiritual life is, by definition, the life of the receiver. It is the life of reception, of communion, of two-way communication between the human and the divine. And when the receiver is compromised, the spiritual life is the first casualty. The restoration of the spiritual dimension does not look like what most people expect. It does not look like more discipline, more prayer, more study, more attendance. It looks like less effort and more reception, less trying and more being, less reaching and more receiving, because the effort was never the engine of the spiritual life. Reception was. The effort was a compensatory mechanism, a way of trying to bridge the gap created by the receiver collapse. And while the effort was noble, it was also exhausting. Because effort, when it is compensating for a broken receiver, is like pushing a car with a dead battery. The car was designed to run on its own power. The pushing is admirable but unsustainable. When the receiver comes back online, the spiritual life stops being something you have to maintain and starts being something that maintains you. Prayer stops being a monologue and becomes a dialogue. Scripture stops being information and becomes encounter. Worship stops being performance and becomes communion. And the weight of the spiritual disciplines, the guilt of not doing enough, the anxiety of falling behind, the comparison with other believers who seem to have it figured out, all of that drops away. Not because the disciplines are abandoned, because the disciplines are fueled by reception instead of obligation. And the difference is night and day. There is a Hebrew word for this state. The word is menuka. It is often translated as rest, but that translation misses the depth of the concept. Minutia is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of alignment. It is the state of a person who is doing exactly what they were designed to do, in exactly the way they were designed to do it, with exactly the resources they need, at exactly the time they need them. Minutia is not passive. It is the most active, most alive, most productive state a human being can occupy, because it is the state of zero resistance, no internal friction, no wasted energy, no effort spent maintaining a system that was never supposed to require maintenance. The message God wrote for you last week is a minutia message. It is not a call to try harder, it is an invitation to receive fully, to stop pushing the car and let the battery charge, to stop compensating for the broken receiver and let the receiver be repaired, to stop treating the fog as normal and start treating it as a condition that has a solution, a simple solution, a solution that takes 8 minutes per day and begins to produce results within the first week. Now I want to take you through something specific, because there is a dimension of the message that I have been building toward throughout this entire experience, and it is the dimension that brings everything together. God does not just write messages, He writes them into people. The message that was written last week is not external to you. It is being written into you right now, as you listen, as you sit with these words. As your body responds and your receiver flickers and your hemispheres make momentary contact across the degraded bridge, the message is not something you receive from outside yourself. It is something that is being activated inside yourself. The diagnostic is naming what is already inside you. The blueprint is mapping what is already inside you. The frequency key is tuning what is already inside you. The authorization is releasing what is already inside you. You are not empty. You are full. Full of delivered messages that were received but not opened. Full of provisions that arrived but were not perceived. Full of answered prayers that landed but were not heard. Full of the accumulated love of a God who has been pouring into you without pause, without condition, without wavering, for every single day of your life, including the days you could not feel it, including the days you blamed yourself for the silence, including the days you wondered if He had moved on. He never moved on. He was right here, writing, sending, waiting, not because He is distant, because He is patient. And the patience of God is not the patience of a disinterested observer. It is the patience of a father who knows that the child will eventually look up, will eventually stop trying to do it alone, will eventually reach the end of their own resources and say the prayer that opens the receiving dock and lets the deliveries pour in. That prayer has been prayed. You might not remember praying it, but God remembers hearing it. And the message He wrote last week is the answer. Now I want to go to a place that is tender, not difficult, tender, because there is a chosen one listening right now who needs to hear something that has nothing to do with diagnosis or blueprints or frequencies. Something that has everything to do with being seen. You are tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind of tired that lives in your bones, in the space behind your eyes, in the way your shoulders hold tension, even when there is nothing to brace against. You have been carrying something for a very long time, and the weight has not gotten lighter with practice. It has gotten heavier, because the strength you used to carry it has been gradually depleted by the receiver collapse, and the strength that was supposed to be replenished through divine connection has not been arriving because the receiver was not processing the replenishment. You are running on reserves, and the reserves are almost gone. I see that. God sees that. And the message He wrote is not asking you to carry more. It is telling you to set the weight down, not hand it off, not manage it better. Set it down. Let it touch the ground. Let your arms go empty. Let your shoulders drop and stand there empty-handed, empty-armed, in the presence of a God who does not need you to carry anything in order to love you. The message is not carry more. The message is you have carried enough. And the God who wrote that message did not write it as a performance review. He wrote it as a love letter, the kind that sees exactly where you are, not where you should be, and says, here, right here, in this exact state, tired, foggy, confused, disappointed, barely holding on. This is where I meet you, not at the top of the mountain, at the base, where the climb has not started yet, where the only thing you can do is look up and say, I need help. You need help. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. And the help has been written, the help has been sent, the help is here. We have been together for a long time in this message, and I want to honor that by telling you that the territory we are entering now is the most sacred territory of all, not because the words are holier, because the space you have created by staying, by listening, by feeling, by allowing the receiver to flicker and the beliefs to loosen and the grief to come and the hope to build, that space is holy. You made it holy by being present in it. And what I am about to share is what that space was designed to hold. The message God wrote for you last week has a final component that I have not named until now. I held it back, not to create suspense, but because this component can only be received in the state you are currently in. And the state you are currently in is different from the state you were in when you pressed play. Something has shifted. The interception gap is thinner. The installed beliefs are quieter. The receiver, though still compromised, is more open than it has been in months. And in this state, the final component of the message can land the way it was designed to land. The final component is called the seal, and the seal is what makes everything that preceded it permanent. Without the seal, the diagnostic would be an insight that fades. The blueprint would be a vision that dims. The frequency key would be a momentary experience that the old operating system re-assimilates. But with the seal, the diagnostic becomes a settled understanding. The blueprint becomes an active guidance system. The frequency key becomes a permanent calibration. And the restoration that has already begun in you, right now, as you listen, does not reverse when this message ends. The seal is not something I apply. It is not something I activate or invoke or manufacture through words. The seal is what God places on his own messages. It is the divine encryption that ensures the message cannot be corrupted, cannot be intercepted after delivery, cannot be rewritten by the interception gap once it has been received. And it is placed not at the beginning of the message, but at the end. Because the end is where the receiver has been sufficiently opened by the diagnostic, oriented by the blueprint, and recalibrated by the frequency key to hold what the seal imprints. Let me describe what the seal feels like, because many chosen ones experience it without knowing what it is. It feels like a settling, not a dramatic experience, a settling, like sediment in water that has been stirred for hours, finally finding the bottom. A sense that something has landed in a place from which it will not move, a quiet certainty that is different from hope, and different from faith, and different from belief. It is deeper than all three. It is knowing, the knowing that does not require evidence, because it is evidence. If you feel that settling happening right now, that is the seal beginning to form. Do not disturb it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to make it bigger or more dramatic. Just let it sit. Let it settle. Let it find the bottom. Because the bottom is where it stays, permanently, regardless of what happens tomorrow, regardless of whether the fog tries to return, regardless of whether the old operating system attempts a reboot. The seal holds. That is its function. That is its design. That is the reason God placed it at the end of the message He wrote for you last week. Now, I want to guide you through something that requires more from you than anything I have asked so far. And I am not going to apologize for asking, because you have earned it. You have earned it by staying, by listening, by trusting, by allowing your receiver to open in the presence of a message that has been challenging everything you thought you knew about yourself and your relationship with God. What I am about to guide you through is a guided mental activation. It is not a prayer. It is not a meditation. It is a deliberate engagement of your entire being, body, mind, and spirit, in the act of receiving the seal. And while the words will come from me, the activation will come from the space between the words, from the silence, from the frequency that has been operating beneath the surface of this entire message. Here is what I need from you. If you can close your eyes, close them. If you cannot, soften your gaze until the visual world becomes a blur and your attention turns inward. Take 3 breaths, slow, deep, each one going lower into your body than the last. The first breath fills your chest. The second fills your belly. The third fills the space beneath your belly, the root, the foundation, the place where your body meets the earth. Now, I want you to imagine a room, not a room you have ever been in, a room that exists in the space between memory and imagination. The walls are made of light, not the harsh light of a fluorescent tube, but the warm, golden light of late afternoon sun filtering through curtains you cannot see. The floor is solid beneath your feet. The air is warm. The silence in this room is not empty. It is full of something you cannot name, but that your body recognizes immediately. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches. Your breathing slows without effort. In the center of this room, there is a table, and on the table, there is a document. Not a modern document, something older, something written on material that has weight and texture. And as you approach the table, you realize that the document is the message God wrote for you last week. All of it. The diagnostic, the blueprint, the frequency key, the authorization, the seal. All of it written in a language you cannot read with your eyes, but that your spirit can read without effort. Stand before the table. Let your hands rest on the surface of the document. Feel the weight of it, the reality of it. This is not imagination. This is your spirit accessing what has always been there. The actual message, the actual writing, placed in a spiritual space that you could not reach while the receiver was compromised, but that you can touch now because the receiver has been opening throughout this entire message. As your hands rest on the document, feel the frequency coming through the surface, not as vibration, as warmth, as knowing. Action that information is being transferred not through your eyes or your ears, but through your hands, through your skin, through the cellular intelligence of your body that predates language and operates beyond the reach of the interception gap. The document is transferring its contents into you, not adding something that was not there, activating something that was always there. The diagnostic is settling into your understanding of yourself. The blueprint is settling into your sense of direction. The frequency key is settling into the calibration of your receiver. And the seal is forming around all of it, encasing it in something unbreakable, something that the fog cannot penetrate, something that the old beliefs cannot corrode, something that the interception gap cannot reach. Now I want you to lift your hands from the document and place them on your own chest, both hands over your heart. And as you do, feel the contents of the document settling into the space behind your hands. Feel the message moving from the table to the center of your being. Feel it taking root, not in your mind, in your core, in the place that was designed to hold divine communication, and that has been empty, not because nothing was sent, but because the receiver could not process the delivery. The delivery is being processed now. Stay here. Stay with your hands on your chest. Stay with the warmth. Stay with the knowing. And say, silently or out loud, one word. Received. Not I hope, not I believe, not I want. Received, past tense. Because the message was written last week. It has already been composed, already been sent, already been delivered. And now, in this moment, it has been received. The receiving dock is open. The delivery is complete. The storage facility is beginning to release its contents. And the chosen one standing in that room with their hands on their chest is not the same chosen one who pressed play at the beginning of this message. Open your eyes when you are ready. What just happened was real. I need you to understand that. What just happened was not guided imagery. It was guided reception. The difference is that imagery creates a picture. Reception creates a change. And the change that just occurred in you, the settling, the warmth, the knowing, the sense that something has landed and will not move, that is the seal, and the seal holds. Now, I want to speak declarations over your life, not predictions, declarations, words that carry the authority of the message God wrote and the frequency we have been operating in throughout this experience. These are not my words about your future. These are alignments with what God has already written. I am reading from the blueprint, not adding to it, reading it. I declare that the receiver collapse in your life has been diagnosed, named, and exposed to the light. It can no longer operate in darkness because you have seen it, and what is seen cannot return to the shadows. I declare that the misattribution pattern, the years of self-blame, the spiritual self-condemnation, the identity built on a misdiagnosis, all of it is being dissolved, not by effort, by truth. By the irreversible recognition that the fog was never your fault, I declare that the storage facility is opening, that the accumulated deliveries of months and years are beginning their descent into your conscious awareness, that the answered prayers you thought were ignored are arriving, that the open doors you thought were locked are becoming visible, that the provision you thought was withheld is being released. I declare that the blueprint is active, that the clarity flood is forming, that the provision cascade is being arranged, that the identity restoration is already underway, that every waypoint God marked in the plan He wrote last week is positioned and waiting for you to arrive at it in the sequence He designed. I declare that the frequency key has made contact with your receiver, that the installed beliefs are losing power, that the permanence belief is cracking, that the unworthiness architecture is weakening, that the conditional love framework is dissolving, that the original frequency of your design is reasserting itself with every breath you take. I declare over your finances that the perception is widening, that the provisions placed along your path by a God who arranges before He reveals are becoming visible, that ideas held in the storage facility are descending into clarity, that opportunities arranged in advance are being recognized, that the financial fog is lifting, and what stands behind it is abundance that has been waiting for eyes clear enough to see it. I declare over your relationships that the capacity for presence is expanding, that the glass wall between you and the people who love you is thinning, that the depth of connection you were designed for is returning, that the people God has assigned to your next season are being drawn toward you by a frequency they can feel even if they cannot name it. I declare over your spiritual life that the monologue is becoming a dialogue, that prayer is being restored to its designed function, not as a performance but as a communion, that the distance between you and God, which was never God leaving but the receiver dimming, is collapsing, That the intimacy you remember from the seasons when everything felt alive is not a memory. It is a preview, and the full experience is closer than you think. I declare over your mind that the fog lifts, that the hemispheres are resynchronizing, that the bridge between the two halves of who you are is carrying traffic again, that the creative genius you were born with, the 98% capacity that was your birthright, is not lost. It is dormant, and dormant is not dead. Dormant is waiting, and what is waiting is about to wake up. I declare over your identity that the one who waits is becoming the one who receives, that the transformation is not hypothetical, it is happening in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, in the space behind your hands where the seal was placed. It is happening now, and it will continue happening tomorrow, and the day after, and the week after, and the month after, until the person you were designed to be is the person you experience yourself as being, not someday, soon. These declarations are not wishes, they are alignments. They are the human voice reading what the divine hand wrote, and the authority behind them is not mine. It is the authority of the God who composed the message, sent the frequency, and placed the seal. Now I want to close this message with the same care and intentionality with which it was opened, because the closing is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the moment the message transitions from something you heard to something you live, and that transition requires one final thing from you. I need you to carry this message differently than you carry most things you hear. Do not file it. Do not bookmark it. Do not add it to the list of inspiring things you encountered once and then forgot. Let it be different. Let it be the message that stayed. The one that did not fade when the screen went dark. The one that was still there when you woke up tomorrow morning. The one that changed the way you talked to yourself, the way you related to God, the way you experienced the fog, the way you understood the waiting. Because God did not write a disposable message. He wrote a permanent document, and permanent documents deserve permanent reception. If you have stayed this long, you are not casual, you are committed. You are the chosen one who does not leave when the message gets long, who does not exit when the truth gets uncomfortable, who does not scroll past when the invitation gets specific. You stayed, and your staying is the authorization. Your presence is the permission. Your open receiver, however partially open, is the dock that the delivery has been heading toward for 7 days. And it has landed, not partially, completely, because God does not send partial messages. He does not write half blueprints. He does not compose incomplete diagnostics. Everything he wrote last week has been delivered in full. Every component, every frequency, every seal. The only thing that remains is what you do next. And what you do next is entirely between you and the God who wrote. I have done my part. I have been the vessel for the delivery, the voice through which the message traveled. But the message is not from me. It is from him, and whatever you choose to do with it, however you choose to respond, wherever this message leads you over the coming days and weeks and months, know this. You were not an accident today, you were an appointment. Type, I received the message in the comments. If your spirit confirms what has been spoken over your life in the last hour, not as a social media action, as a declaration, as a seal on the seal, as the chosen one saying, in the presence of witnesses, that the message arrived, the receiver opened, the delivery was completed, and the restoration has begun. And if you have not already done so, gently press the like button so that this message reaches another chosen one who needs to hear it before the window closes. Someone whose storage facility is full. Someone whose receiver is ready to flicker. Someone whose message from last week is still in transit, looking for the right delivery mechanism to bring it home. Your act of sharing is not a favor to me. It is an act of intercession for a stranger whose restoration depends on receiving this in time. God wrote the message. I delivered it, you received it. And now, the words become reality. Not through effort, through the seal. Through the irreversible settling of divine truth into the core of a chosen one who was always designed to carry it. The fog is lifting. The receiver is coming back online. The deliveries are beginning to arrive. And the chosen one who walked into this message carrying weight they could not explain is walking out of it carrying knowledge that changes everything. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not the exception. You are the message. The living, breathing, walking embodiment of everything God wrote last week. Not the recipient of the message itself, written in the language of your life, sealed with the authority of divine intention, delivered on the day you were finally ready to receive it. And so it is, written, sent, received, sealed. Rita. But before we part, I want to sit with you in one more sacred space, because there is something I have not said yet that needs to be said. And it is not a teaching. It is not a mechanism. It is not a concept. It is a recognition. I recognize that you came into this message wounded, not visibly, not in a way that anyone looking at you would notice, but wounded in the place where hope lives, in the place where trust in the divine process used to feel effortless and now feels like lifting a weight you are not sure you can hold anymore. You came here carrying the accumulated weight of every promise that seemed to go unfulfilled, every prayer that seemed to bounce back, every morning where the fog greeted you before your coffee did, and you lay there, wondering how many more mornings you could sustain this before something fundamental broke. And you stayed, through all of it, through the diagnosis of a condition you did not know you had, through the revelation that the missed deliveries were real, through the grief of understanding that years of self-blame were built on a misdiagnosis, through the description of a blueprint you could barely dare to believe in, through the frequency key and the installed beliefs and the resonance override and the storage facility and the declarations and the seal, you stayed. That is not a small thing. That is perhaps the most significant thing you have done in months, because staying requires the receiver to be engaged, and the fact that you stayed means the receiver was engaged. Compromised? Yes. Partially operational? Yes. But engaged, active, reaching, straining toward the signal with everything it has left. And that straining was enough. It was enough for the message to land. It was enough for the diagnostic to settle. It was enough for the blueprint to be imprinted. It was enough for the frequency key to make contact. And it was enough for the seal to form. You did not need to be perfect. You just needed to be present, and you were. And that is everything. Now I want to address the practical question that I know is forming in your mind. What do I do tomorrow? Tomorrow, you wake up, and the first thing you do is notice. Just notice. Do not evaluate. Do not compare yesterday to today. Do not look for dramatic signs. Just notice. Notice the quality of your first thought. Notice the weight or the lightness in your chest. Notice whether the fog is the same density or whether, even slightly, it has thinned. The thinning will be subtle at first, not the dramatic clarity flood I described. That comes later. The first changes are quiet, a slightly clearer thought, a slightly easier breath, a slightly different quality to the silence when you sit in it. These are the receiver testing its restored connections, sending small signals across the bridge to see if the other side responds. And when it does respond, when the right hemisphere sends back a signal that the left hemisphere actually receives, You will feel something you may not have felt in a very long time. You will feel whole, not complete, not finished, not arrived, but whole. The sense that both halves of you are in the same room for the first time in years. The analytical and the intuitive, the logical and the creative, the articulate and the knowing, both present, both contributing, both alive. That feeling is the beginning. And from that beginning, everything else unfolds. The clarity flood, the provision cascade, the identity restoration, the relational deepening, the financial clearing, the spiritual communion, all of it unfolding from a single beginning, a single morning, a single moment of noticing that something has shifted. Now I want to speak one more time to the chosen one who felt the stirring when the 8-minute tool was described. The resource from Dr. Barone and his team is placed in the description below and in the pinned comment for those whose spirit confirmed it. That is the only place I will mention it. What remains in this message belongs entirely to something else. What remains is this. I want you to know that the love God has for you is not the love you have been imagining. It is bigger, wider, deeper, more patient, more persistent, more specific, more personal, more fierce. The love you have been imagining is limited by the capacity of a compromised receiver to conceive of love. And a compromised receiver conceives of a limited love because its bandwidth cannot process an unlimited one. The love that is actually there, the love that has been pouring into the storage facility along with the provisions and the answers and the open doors, that love is not measured. It is not conditional. It is not a response to your performance or your faith or your worthiness. It is a permanent, immutable, unalterable characteristic of the God who chose you. He chose you the way an artist chooses a medium, not because the canvas was perfect, because the canvas was possible, because something could be created on it that could not be created on any other surface. You are the canvas, and the masterpiece is not what you do. It is what God does through you. When the receiver is online and the hemispheres are synchronized and the bridge is carrying full traffic, and the creative genius you were born with is operating at the specifications he set when he designed. You, the masterpiece, is not yet visible, but it is written. In the message from last week, in the blueprint that is now active, in the seal that now holds, and in the destiny of a chosen one who sat through an hour of the most uncomfortable and most liberating truth they have ever encountered and came out the other side saying, I received it, all of it, and I am not going back. There is one more thing I want to do before this message ends. I want to pray. Not the kind of prayer that asks for things, the kind that acknowledges what has already been given. Father, the message has been delivered. The message you wrote last week has traveled through a voice and into ears, and through compromised receivers and past interception gaps, and through installed beliefs, and into the core of a chosen one who was ready, not because they were strong, because they were exhausted. And the exhaustion became the permission, and the permission became the opening, and the opening became the receiving. I ask nothing on their behalf, because you have already given everything. The diagnostic is complete, the blueprint is active, the frequency key has made contact, the seal is placed. What remains is the unfolding, and the unfolding is in your hands. Protect the seal. Guard the settled truth against the fog that will attempt to return. Strengthen the receiver with each passing day. Open the storage facility at the rate they can process, not too fast, not too slow, but at the rate your wisdom determines is perfect for this specific chosen one in this specific season. And remind them, every morning when they open their eyes, that they are not forgotten, that they are not overlooked, that they are not the exception, that they are the point, that the message was written for them, that the love behind the message is immeasurable, and that the best is not behind them. It is in the next paragraph of the document you wrote, and the next paragraph begins tomorrow. We receive it, we authorize it, we seal it, and we walk into it. Not with the courage of certainty, with the courage of trust. The trust of a chosen one who has finally heard the message and recognized the handwriting. It is yours. It has always been yours, and so have we. I want to leave you with something specific, something you can carry into tomorrow morning and the morning after, and every morning of the season that is now beginning. The message God wrote for you last week did not have a word count. It did not have a page limit. It did not have an expiration date. The message is ongoing. It is living. It is expanding. New paragraphs are being added every day. Not because God is revising his plan, because the plan has stages, and each stage reveals the next paragraph. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, the next paragraph will be waiting. It will not arrive through a dramatic vision or an audible voice. It will arrive through a subtle shift in perception, a slightly different quality to the light, a slightly different texture to the silence, a knowing that sits in your chest before your mind forms words around it. That knowing is the next paragraph. Receive it. And the morning after that, another paragraph. And the morning after that, another. Each one building on the last. Each one adding detail to the blueprint. Each one deepening the restoration. Each one confirming that the message was real. The seal is holding. The receiver is strengthening. And the God who wrote is still writing. He is still writing for you, about you, through you. And the story he is composing with your life is not a tragedy interrupted by grace. It is a masterwork that required exactly the journey you have been on, fog and all, disconnection and all, waiting and all, to produce the depth and the beauty and the authority that only comes from a chosen one who has walked through the valley and emerged on the other side, carrying the message in their own body. You are not just the recipient of the message, you are becoming the message. The living proof that God writes, that the receiver can be restored, that the storage facility opens, and that the chosen one who thought they were forgotten was being remembered in the most detailed, most specific, most loving way imaginable. Carry that, not as a burden, as a privilege, as the highest form of identity available to a human being, the identity of one who has received the full message and lived to tell the story. Go well. Go with the seal intact. Go with the receiver strengthening. Go with the blueprint active. Go with the love of a God who wrote before you asked, who answered before you prayed, who prepared before you were ready, and who waits at every waypoint with exactly what you need at exactly the time you need it. And so it is. Written, sent, received, sealed, complete.